At first Data Field in Port St. Lucie, Florida, the New York Mets play the Washington Nationals. Spring training on SNY is presented by Citi. Well, it's an early start to spring training this year. It's only February the 25th, and things are already in high gear. An extra week of spring training this year with the World Baseball Classic looming, and a Mets franchise that has never been to the postseason 3 years in a row, trying to do just that this year. They've got their best free agent back. They've got their captain hoping to be healthy, and a Met team that's poised to win, ready to take the field. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Port St. Lucie. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you, all set for our 12th spring training of Mets baseball in SNY. Feels like we're just getting started. The Mets, last year, a wild card team despite all sorts of injuries, a year after playing in the World Series, trying to get to the postseason for a third straight year. They are vastly intact from last year and hoping for better health, but a lot of their fortunes this year may hinge on the fortunes of two young players who are trying to really restart their careers in Travis d'Arnaud and Michael Conforto.
Absolutely. This is a veteran team right now, the starting lineup. They're built to win this year, and I feel very good about this ball club, but they had a weakness last year. It was behind the plate. d'Arnaud did not have a good year. He's made some adjustments with his swing. He tended to overswing last year. He got off to a great start yesterday, got a couple base hits, and on the other side, Conforto, who came in with a smash 2 years ago, kind of regressed last year. He had a big game yesterday, hit a home run, got a base hit off a left-hander. This is a big spring training for Conforto, and you know how I feel about him. This could be a breakout year for him.
And backstopping everything for this team is the immense potential of their starting pitching.
It really does. You know, the health, of course, is the most important. But that being said, if they're healthy this year and can take the mound 30 times each, we're talking about arms that can change how this division and how baseball is looked at. That's how good they are, and hopefully this year they'll be able to do that.
Mets are being careful with their frontline starting pitchers. They won't take them out until next week. Sean Gilmartin will get the start for the Mets today in their home spring opener at their newly renamed field. Mets and Nats, all the action on SNY. Nationals, the defending champs in the National League East, playing their first spring game today. Their Toyota starting lineup features the breakout performer in the National League last year in Daniel Murphy, and the MVP of 2 years ago, Bryce Harper, trying to bounce back from a subpar 2016. Sean Gilmartin makes the start for the Mets.
Remember, Rule 5 made the team 2 years ago. Back and forth from Las Vegas last year was not very successful.
Trey Turner takes his first fastball outside. Turner, runner-up in the National League Rookie of the Year balloting. Might have won it if he'd played a full season with the Nats. Wraps one on the ground to Asdrubal Cabrera, and there's the first out of the afternoon.
Did you notice, guys, so far that Sean Gilmartin, maybe trying to win a spot out of the bullpen, is starting this game in the stretch?
Well, the Mets have a lot of options when it comes to lefties out of the bullpen. Certainly, they enhanced that part of the team when they re-signed Jerry Blevins, a deal that came very late after Blevins was looking for a little longer-term deal than he wound up getting with the Mets. But that certainly provides them so much more depth behind Blevins with all the candidates they have. Here's Adam Eaton, the newly acquired center fielder for the Nats, and he takes a fastball strike.
Well, interesting, Keith. You were talking about Conforto and d'Arnaud had a good day. Josh Edgin, who pitched yesterday, did not have a good day. Gave up a 2-run bomb.
And allowed the no-hitter to go by the boards. That's 6 no-hit innings in the spring debut. Backhand play for Ty Kelly, and he throws out Adam Eaton, and there are 2 outs. So Gilmartin keeping the ball in the strike zone, gets a couple of quick ground balls.
And we'll take a look at the Lexus Met defense. Curtis Granderson, we'll take a look at him in center field. He's going to get a lot of playing time in center field. They're not going to be able to play him 140 out there. I guarantee you that. Jose Reyes back for a full season with the Metsies at third base. Wilmer's going to get a lot of playing time at first base. And Rene Rivera, I'm glad he's back. He's really handled this pitching staff last season wonderfully.
Daniel Murphy coming off a phenomenal year in 2016. 347, 25 home runs, 104 RBIs, led the league in doubles with 47, led the league in slugging percentage. Since World War II, who's had a higher slugging percentage as a second baseman in the National League?
Joe Morgan.
Jeff Kent.
You know, my guess was going to be Bobby Grich.
Yeah,
Good call.
Of course, that's the other league, but
It's the National League. Sorry,
but I mean, that's the kind of territory that Murph entered last year, having found the power in his game.
Well, observing. Oh, good breaking ball.
So Gilmartin makes quick work of Murphy. A 7-pitch first inning for Gilmartin as he sets the Nats down 1-2-3.
Outside the Rose.
It is, but it's not mine.
Jose Reyes leads off for New York, and Trey Turner is on it. High throw, and Reyes is safe. Well, Trey Turner moved back to his original position at shortstop this year, with Adam Eaton taking over in center field, and he makes an error on the first play of the spring.
Routine ground ball. Just that sidearm throw always gets a little dicey. You want to come over the top. When you throw underhand, it shades of old Hojo. It used to drive me nuts.
It's not a lot of things that you can criticize about Turner's game. One thing that's always been a criticism is lack of strength in his arm.
Adam Lynn playing first base, going up to get it, but can't come down on the bag, and so Reyes is aboard to start the bottom of the first, and now Curtis Granderson up against Gio Gonzalez, and takes a fastball for a strike.
Curtis, of course, hit 30 home runs last year, only 59 RBIs, but scored 88 runs. And I thought he played a doggone good center field last year when they threw him out in center.
Curtis will turn 36 in the middle of March, and had not played center field in a number of years before necessity dictated that he moved to center field the middle of last season. The question is, can he play center field at this age on a almost everyday basis, which he might be asked to do?
You know, the one thing about Curtis since he's signed with the Mets, though, he's been the most reliable. He's a guy that takes the field every day, plays through, you know, those little aches and pains. You never hear anything from Curtis.
He never complains. They went over to center field, and he's getting on, as Gary said, and it's a big ballpark at Citi Field, and it's outfield defense for the Mets is not a strength.
What's interesting, though, about Curtis in center field, I asked him what the biggest adjustment was last year, because he played center field earlier in his career, and he said when he first went back to center field, he didn't do what he had done earlier in his career in Detroit, which was play shallow. He played a little too deep. And remember the first game he played at Wrigley, a ball dropped in front of him, and he said, I was so upset about that, I decided to go back to what had worked for me playing in a big ballpark in Detroit. He said, I've always gone back on the ball well, and I'm going to continue to do that this year.
I think that's, you know, he's such an intelligent player, Curtis, and I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, it's hard for outfielders to play in a different spot. They like to play around the spot that they kind of grew up playing.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, Ronnie. I think anybody, even infielders, you kind of want to get settled in your one position.
And I know from a pitcher's standpoint, and Curtis kind of echoed this when I asked him about it, he said, look, if the ball goes over my head, you know, that's the pitcher's deal. If it drops in front of me, that's my fault. So my goal is to make sure that nothing drops in front of me, and you know, I can deal with the balls going over my head, even if it makes me feel bad.
Well, the thing is, when you have a pitching staff like this, also there's a rare that you have those balls hit over your head. There's the other school of thought, though, is that as you play deep, and if the ball falls in front of you, you got another chance to get out of the inning.
Reyes at first and nobody out. 2-2 to Granderson, with Cespedes waiting on deck, and the breaking ball gets him. Gio Gonzalez has his first out as he fans Granderson one away. Here's your Geico Mets starting lineup. David Wright DHing today. Wilmer Flores playing first base. Lucas Duda still having some back and hip issues. Took a couple of shots yesterday, so it's going to be a few days before he plays. And here's Cespedes, sporting the white shoes on the for his first spring training game. I like those.
If he wags his finger #1, we know we're in good place.
You know, it is the cliche of all cliches to say in spring training that a player is in the best shape of his life. But I think in Cespedes' case, he truly is in the best shape of his life. I think a lot of anxiety has fallen off his shoulders with the knowledge that he can settle in and be part of this organization for the next 4 years. Gonzalez off the mound. And Cespedes retired 2 out as Reyes goes to second. Well, that was the deal. In fact, surprisingly, in this day and age of mega deals, the only $100 million plus contract that was handed out in the offseason. And here's David Wright getting a big ovation. It's nice to see David in the lineup for the first home spring game. It's going to be a while before he can get out there and play third base, but he's been swinging the bat well enough in batting practice that Terry Collins felt comfortable enough to put him in the lineup today.
He only started throwing about a week ago, right?
And he's only throwing at this point from 60 feet. So he's still got a long way to go.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be difficult for him to be ready by opening day.
Well, I know he'd like to be ready for opening day, but ultimately the test is not going to be whether he's ready day one. It's how many days he can be ready after playing just 75 games total the last 2 years.
Yeah, so 37 games last year to be exact, Gare, at 226. So its career now has just been shortened, not shortened, but curtailed. I mean, due to these injuries he's had.
Well, it's probably blasphemy for me to even say it, but the arc of this team, they could take that hit better than they could in the past if he doesn't play as many as you'd like.
242 home runs, now just 10 away from Darryl Strawberry's franchise record. Really the only offensive record that David doesn't own by himself. And David lifts one out to center, and Adam Eaton is right there waiting. And that retires the side after a leadoff error. Gonzalez gets the next 3. 1 inning complete at first. Data Field. No score. We go to the second inning in Port St. Lucie. Mets and Nationals no score. Let's send it downstairs to Steve Gelbs. Welcome back, Steve.
Thanks a lot, Gary. Welcome to you guys. I've been here a couple of weeks. There's been a couple of clear things that have really stood out about these first 2 weeks of camp. The first being just the continuity on this roster. I know you guys touched on it a little bit, but it's such a rarity in sports nowadays to bring back essentially the same team. And I think what's happened is that because of that, there's been an overwhelming sense of calm and just kind of workmanlike going about your business on this team. The past 3 years I've been down here, there's been some curiosity, some spectacle, whether it was Noah Syndergaard, how is he going to pitch? Matz, how is he going to pitch? Harvey coming back from surgery. Cespedes' first spring last year, but this year, same team. They know what they're capable of. They've been going about their business.
Bryce Harper crashes one to deep right center. Will back onto the berm, and Bryce Harper gets his spring training off to a rocking start with a tape measure home run.
Well, No doubt on that one, right off the bat.
Well, after an MVP season 2 years ago, he slumped badly last year. Mysterious talk about maybe an injury having held him back. But at age 24, poised to try and regain what he put up 2 years ago, which were historic numbers, and off to a nice start there.
Well, got himself a little bit of a hanger, and that is a bomb.
Off the back fence. Don't see many hit there.
Had to hurt your feelings as a pitcher.
Sorry we interrupted you, Steve, or at least Bryce did.
It's all right, Gary. You know, I think my reports are in midseason form. That happened about, what, 85 times last year? But the second aspect that stood out, and I know you guys were talking about the cliche of being in the best shape of your life, but Michael Conforto has come into camp and has looked spectacular physically. And I know there was so much question about, hey, would having Jay Bruce in camp, would that negatively impact the development of Michael Conforto? I think quite the opposite. I think he's pushing himself even more than we've seen in the past. And so, you know, you look at someone who in the past didn't look to be out of shape, but this year put on, you know, such an attempt in the offseason to become more athletic. And it's truly, truly showing the work that he's put in this offseason.
Well, competition is a great thing. I feel like I'm always repeating myself. And you know, he's at a point in his career, Conforto here. This is a big year for him. He's had that great year 2 years ago coming up, and just did some wonderful things in the postseason as well. Incredible what he accomplished. And it's a learning process. And I almost think it's a sophomore jinx. I do kind of believe in a sophomore jinx. A little more pressure on you. Things are expected of you that second year. It's the first time the team is looking for you to carry a load. And that's a responsibility maybe you're not ready for when you're young, and it's a learning process, so it makes you want to work harder, and he's got a chance to break into this lineup. He has a good spring, and he's going to get plenty of opportunity this spring training.
And Keith, I will tell you this, there has been just a clear sense of determination from him, the way that he walks around, the way that he talks, quite frankly, because he really wanted to play in the WBC, to be honest. He wanted to play for Italy, but made the decision not to, because he said he did not want to give up even a single day down here to push the Mets to try and put him on the roster. And even this offseason, you know, we talk about the shape that he's gotten himself into. At one point, he had lost so much body fat that he was actually being told he needed to start eating more pasta so that he could put a little bit more fat on. So he is determined to show that he is the player everyone thought he would be.
Well, that's one of those tools. It's kind of heavy. You can break in your glove. I never had those when I was around. Never saw those, but that's kind of a nice idea. I used to always break in the glove just throwing the ball into it, right, Ron?
That's right.
Don't break your fingers.
You didn't like to break yours in totally, though. You wanted to.
I wanted to get. I got the glove from Rawlings. I was always with Rawlings. I wanted the glove that was like cement. It just wouldn't. You could hardly move it when you first put it in your hand, because that was the strongest leather.
There's Derek Norris. Norris acquired from the Padres to be their #1 catcher, however, now supplanted with the signing of Matt Wieters. And Mike Rizzo, the Nats GM, already on record that he's trying to trade Norris.
Well, they've talked about maybe moving Norris and someone else from their organization over to the Chicago White Sox. They've been interested all winter in David Robertson, their closer.
And they could certainly use some clarity as far as the end of their bullpen is concerned. They've got plenty of candidates, but certainly no standout at this point.
Well, they lost Mark Melanson. That was a big blow. You know, Ron, thinking back at who would have thought back on our day when we played that the San Francisco Giants would have an enticement to come and leave a first place team.
That's right.
And go play in San Francisco.
Out to left center. Granderson over in the gap. And gets there. 3 fly ball outs for Gil Martin after the tape measure bomb by Bryce Harper opens the scoring for this afternoon. 1-0 Nats. York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. By Empire City Casino, Manhattan's closest casino. Game on. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com to see how much you could save. And by Toyota, visit your local Toyota dealer or buyatoyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. Action on the berm. For my money, the best place to watch a game in this ballpark.
You watch a couple games out there, don't you, sometimes?
I have been out there. I've been known to take the sun. A little blanket up there on the
nice.
berm. Very comfortable.
Well, it is
for the families.
86 degrees today. It has just been a spectacular spring.
Rolling down that hill.
It's hot today.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Sweating bullets during the open.
Asdrubal Cabrera will lead off for New York. What a terrific year Cabrera had last year. Guy whom the Mets brought in. A lot of scouts said he couldn't play shortstop anymore. Not only did he handle that with, if not great range, certainly great consistency. Only 7 errors all year, but had one of his finest offensive seasons as well.
He had a James Brown kind of year. Remember when James Brown, they used to put the bathrobe on him and he'd be done for the night and they'd walk him off and then he'd come back and he was even better than ever. I mean, Cabrera, it seemed like he was going to not play the rest of the season, started the next day and was lights out the rest of the way.
Trevor Gott taking over the pitching for the Nats. Was in 9 games with Washington last year in September.
And don't forget, he had that dry spell in the middle of the season, RBI-wise, where he couldn't drive in a run.
Was he 0 for 34?
He wound up driving in, he drove in 62 runs. If he hadn't had that dry spell, he'd have had close to probably 80 RBIs from a shortstop.
But it's important to remember what Ronnie just said, because there were times last year where you would wonder whether Cabrera could even stand up, much less play baseball. And he was in there every day.
Yep.
The ice bath was his best friend.
He was a trooper last year, and you like to see that.
And, you know, he's one of those guys. It's why managers, folks at home, love veteran players. He went through that awful stretch. If it was a young player, he would have folded his tent. But he kept putting his nose to the grindstone and figured it out.
Three-2 from Gott, and Cabrera lifts one to left. Michael Taylor chasing back. And that's the first out.
And we'll take a look at the Hyundai Washington National defense and the new additions there. Adam Eaton in center field, acquired from the White Sox. Trey Turner moving over to shortstop, his real position. Daniel Murphy, of course, at second base. Terrific year last year. Harper looking to bounce back in right field. They're a solid ball club. They're going to need a lot from those guys because they've taken a couple hits this year, this ball club. I think they've taken a step back, and it's a big opportunity for the Mets maybe to step up and take the reins of the National League East.
What do you think's the biggest hit the Nats took? Is it Melanson or is it losing Wilson Ramos? Which do you think is the biggest thing for them?
Well, with signing Wieters, I think it's now Melanson. You know, that they are going to hope that Sean Kelly and Blake Trinan are the guys that can close.
Well, there you have them right there. But I agree that with Ron, but even if they didn't get Wieters, I'm a pitching guy. You lost Melanson. That hurts.
Well, I'll go a little deeper. You know, when they got Eaton, which is a nice pickup, they gave up a lot of their organizational pitching depth.
With
Lucas
Giolito
and others.
Yeah, Ronaldo Lopez.
But the other piece is, you know, you got Strasburg coming back from this elbow issue late last year, and now Max Scherzer has a fractured knuckle in his hand where he can't even throw his fastball yet. Now, I know it's 5 weeks to opening day as Flores gets buzzed. They do that to him a lot. They do. But you have to wonder whether the Nats starting pitching is as solid as it appears to be. Trevor Gott, who began his career with the Angels a couple of years ago. And Flores fouls it off.
You know, well, the Mets feel really good about their starting pitching. But if anyone falters because of health, you know, coming off surgeries, you know, they have more depth than they had before. You know why? Because when they weren't able to pitch last year, Seth Lugo and Robert Gesellman were in there and got a lot of experience, ready to go now. And that's what you're talking about, that Washington does not have that right now.
And it's one thing that Sandy Alderson that I've noticed as a general manager since taking over as a general manager. He is, when he started rebuilding, he rebuilt from the minor leagues from the bottom up, and he has developed this surplus, I guess, that he can call upon. He says, well, I know it's a long flight for him, but I'm sure from Las Vegas, and, you know, it's a shame that they can't just fly from Tidewater, but there's a group down there that can come in and plug holes if needed.
3-2 to Wilmer. And he punches one out to right, and Harper's there, 2 out. Last year, the Nats won 95 games, but as has been their stumbling block, could not get out of the opening round of the postseason. Beaten by the Dodgers, who came from behind to win the 4th and 5th game and knocked them out in the division series on the exploits of Clayton Kershaw.
Well, and Kershaw had the ball in his hands against the Cubs with a chance to tie up that series, and boy, they made a big error early in that game and turned that entire series around.
Here's Jay Bruce sitting 7th in the order, and he takes outside.
The Mets are making like, at least their pitching staff making like the 70s Oakland A's with the mustaches.
Now, let me ask you, from what you've seen of those mustaches so far, do you think they make it to opening day?
They're pretty light so far.
Just for men, I recommend it.
Mets go down 1-2-3 in the second, 1-0 Nationals. Palm trees looming over the newly rechristened First Data Field. Just got its new name a couple of days ago. We're still getting adjusted. The biggest question we had to try and ascertain was data or data.
I'm a data guy personally.
I've always been a data guy, but it's First Data.
Maybe I'm a West Coaster. We say data out west.
Really?
Yeah.
So
well, we say inline, and you guys say online.
Standing online.
Yes.
See, but that's gotten corrupted now with the more recent meaning of online. Right. Neftali Soto leads off against the new Met pitcher Logan Taylor.
Talking about online, I'm going to have to take a graduate course at Columbia. I haven't been able to figure out baseballreference.com.
Oh.
Give you a little more ditties with Logan Taylor, but I don't have it right now.
They updated their site. It's the most useful site in baseball. We love Baseball Reference.
Yes.
Don't love the remake.
Guys, if you're listening, go back to the original. You got me all confused.
Keith needs a GPS for his Baseball Reference. Logan's 25 years old, pitched in Binghamton last year. Well, it's true with you know, any technological upgrade you go through, there are growing pains involved.
Well, I was trying to go back to the '86 World Series, and maybe they can text me or something. I'm trying to find the play-by-play in Game 4 in Boston, and I get the box score. I can't find the play-by-play. I went crazy last night.
7 shutout innings. That's all you really have to know about Game 4, Keith.
Baseball-reference.com. Keith has put you on notice. He needs his play-by-play.
I take care of you, Ronnie.
Logan Taylor, 44 appearances, 5 starts last year in Binghamton. And a liner knocked down by Flores, and Taylor gets over to cover in time. Well, Flores made a brilliant catch yesterday of a line drive playing at first base against Alan Craig of the Red Sox, and he nearly snagged another one out of the air and kept it in play for himself.
A little line drive, nice leap, just purely reaction, a little stumble, but he didn't fall. Cover first. There you go.
That looked more like highlight than it did a baseball play.
Always helps to have a big cesta like a first baseman. One out. Here's Clint Robinson, who's DHing today. Robinson, who's been a valuable bench player for the Nats the last couple of years, all of a sudden sees his role in jeopardy after the Nats last week signed Adam Lind, who's playing first base today.
A lot of it's going to depend on the health, though, of Ryan Zimmerman, like we say almost each and every year.
Well, healthy or not, Zimmerman has got to pick up his production. He had a dreadful offensive season last year, and his career is really at that tipping point.
It is.
Balls and a strike to Robinson.
Well, this is one of the things that happens in spring training. Gio, the starting pitchers will run in the outfield. I think there's a correlation between how well you do and how long you run in the outfield. If you have a bad outing, usually it's a couple and adios.
Is that the left-handers fraternity there? Reyes playing in the shift. Throws out Robinson, 2 away. Big hugs from Frank Viola to Gio Gonzalez. Now, let me ask you this. I know that spring training is a week longer this year because of the WBC, but did you ever make a spring training start where you worked 1 inning?
No, never. I mean, there's many that I wish was only 1 inning, but no. Usually the first one was 3. But we also didn't start until the first week of March, you know, the 3rd, 4th, 5th.
Well, which is what the Mets starting pitchers are going to do. They're going to be held back really till late next week before they get started. One of the many things that the Mets have done this spring to limit the number of throws their pitchers make leading up to the season. Trey Turner up for the 2nd time, grounded out his first time up. Including over the first week of the drills after the pitchers reported not throwing the ball during bunting and pitchers fielding practice drills.
Well, this is how I feel about pitchers fielding drills, pitchers fielding practice. After you've thrown that day, that's when you should do your PFP, because your arm's hot, you're ready to go, and you can throw the ball the proper speed in your drills as opposed to going through the motions.
Well, and the other piece to it is how many pitchers have we seen who have trouble throwing the ball to bases?
Yep. Wouldn't
you think you'd want to work on that more rather than less?
You know, what always happens in pitchers fielding practice is you got half the guys are going at it and trying to better themselves as fielders, and the other half really are just going through the motions. They're booking, can't wait for their 12:10 tee time, you know, all that stuff. It's been the same forever.
Probably like that in most businesses. 2-2 from Taylor. And that just missed. Full count.
Young man straight over the top, isn't he? Yes, All-star in Binghamton.
Big guy.
11th round draft pick out of junior college in Oklahoma in 2012. One of two pitchers named Taylor on the Mets spring training roster. Corey Taylor pitched yesterday. And it's foul tip by Turner, held by Rivera, and Taylor's got himself a 1-2-3 inning. Middle of the third in Port St. Lucie, 1-0 Nats. Weeknights at 6, join the discussion as a panel of team insiders connect with fans via social media to tackle all your questions about the latest Mets news, plus game highlights and up-to-the-minute reports from camp on Mets Talk Live, weeknights at 6, only on SNY. 42-year-old Joe Nathan trying to win a spot in the Nationals bullpen and perhaps a spot at the end of the game for the Nationals.
Well, great experience, had some huge years with the Minnesota Twins. Fastball, breaking ball split.
377 career saves. Had Tommy John surgery April of 2015. Pitched in 10 scattered games with the Cubs and Giants last year. And now trying to resurrect his career at age 42. Ty Kelly pops one up. And Bryce Harper looking through the sunglasses. One out. It is not a bright sunny day, but it is a partly cloudy, hazy kind of a day and necessitating the sunglasses.
Beautiful day. Keith, you said it was beautiful here this winter, right?
It was a lovely winter, Ron. Spectacular. Spent it mostly in my Bermuda shorts.
That's a little too much information, by the way.
He could have said his short shorts.
Oh, we've seen those too.
It's been made public on social media, so I think it's fair that you fill the fans in, Keith, on your injuries.
Oh, my knee. It's not good, folks. It's really bad news. I may be on the DL this year. You may have to miss me for around a month, but I've got no cartilage in my knee. It's pretty much bone to bone. I'm trying to do PRP right now. They're draining fluid out of it. I'll just be brief, but I got a cane that's driving me nuts. So hopefully the PRP will work. It's a 2-month process. If not, the alternative is going to be a knee replacement, Garrett, probably the end of the year. How about that? Iron Man.
Well, I'm sure you'll tough it out as long as you possibly can.
Oh, I'll tough it out.
I want to know, does this still go back to your hiking incident in Phoenix last year?
Yeah, that's where it happened. I probably had an issue with that knee and didn't know it. And if I hadn't been in my room when my Greg Picker, our producer, called and said, "Hey, Keith, you want to go for a hike?" I probably would have lasted another 10 years on this thing. But we're going back to August. I've been in a doggone cane. I put on 15 pounds too, and I'm not happy about that. So I can't work out.
Forget about the cane. You need to get maybe like a shillelagh or something.
Explain that.
Oh, it's an Irish cane, like a stick.
Oh,
Okay. More like a club.
Yeah. Just in case, late at night when we're.
Well, because you can't run, you can't hide.
Well, I can't keep up with you when you walk.
You're gonna have to stand and fight now. Rene Rivera slashes one down the line, and he's got a base hit. So Rene, who was the starting catcher for the Mets in their lone postseason game last year, has a base hit his first time up.
Well, Rene is not a power hitter. The guy that uses the opposite field. That's his strength. And they're playing him appropriately as an off-field hitter. And normally when you hit the ball all over the field and they got to play you straight up, that's a double down the line. But with Rene, they're shading him to the opposite field. He only gets a single.
So the Mets have their first hit of the afternoon. And now Jose Reyes, who reached on an error his first time up. I asked Jose yesterday how many gloves he brought to camp, and he said 7.
Oh, his number?
7.
Why?
Well, next week. Next week begins Jose's indoctrination into being an outfielder.
That's right. That's 3.
I think he just has backups.
He does. Absolutely.
But he's never had to have an outfielder's glove before, other than 1 inning that he played in the Dominican Summer League his first year in rookie ball. There's a double play ball right at Murphy. Almost got handcuffed, but gets it away. And Turner turns over the 4-6-3 double play. After 3, 1-0 Washington. It's all underway. It's 86 degrees in Port St. Lucie. The Mets are in uniform and on the field. Wilmer's jumping back from an inside fastball. All is right with the world. Partly cloudy afternoon at the newly renamed First Data Field, originally known as Thomas J. White Stadium, and then Tradition Field, and then Digital Domain Park.
Yep.
And then back to Tradition Field, and now First Data Field, which it should be for some time. First pitch, Adam Eaton grounds out against Logan Taylor. Let's head it downstairs to Steve Gelb. Steve.
Gary, big moment here for Neil Walker. I was told, correct me if I'm wrong, but the rumor is that when you signed the qualifying offer, the one stipulation was you wanted to be the first spring training interview with us.
That's very true, and I feel more than honored to be standing here with you today.
Well, I feel the same way, Neil. But seriously, you spoke when you came back this spring about how badly you wanted to be back here. What was it about this team, this organization, that made you feel comfortable after so many years in Pittsburgh?
Well, I think more than anything, it's the talent that's here. It's years like last year where you know, organizations and players and overcome adversity and you know, work hard to get to that common goal, which is a win every night, and obviously to work toward the playoffs. So we accomplished those goals and overcame a lot of adversity over the course of 162 games to get to the point that we were.
You spoke at times last year about this as Murphy lines this one out to left field, but you know, you were born and bred in Pittsburgh, grew up there, and that was really the only home you ever knew. Were you surprised that you were able to feel so comfortable in a new spot as quickly as you did?
I don't know about surprise. I feel like I'm a pretty adaptable person in general. It definitely took a while to really get my bearings straight and kind of feel more comfortable, whether it be a clubhouse setting or away from the field, or you know, obviously we were in spring training and then you go to New York and you have to kind of feel your way through getting to and from the ballpark, and just things that you probably wouldn't think of, or things that I never thought of as a player in Pittsburgh. So, but you know, the common denominator was that the guys here were great. The players, the organization were so great, and it made me feel comfortable from the first day that I was here.
Bryce Harper singles, so he's on first with 2 outs. Neil, the back surgery towards the end of the season, you were speaking a little bit about it in your first press conference this year, how you've been dealing with that back problem for, you know, 4+ years. Just how different is your day in, day out now that that issue is finally cleared up?
Well, more than anything, I've tried to kind of change a little bit of my routine and make sure that I'm doing things to prepare for the day's game. And obviously in spring training, you do a lot of things early, and anybody that's had kind of back issues knows that the worst time of the day is the morning. So, you know, when I get in here, I make sure that I do my exercises, do my routine, and I just monitor how I feel and the amount of swings that I'm taking. And more than anything, it's about quality over quantity. And that's the thing that you know, as you get older as a player, you try to make sure that you take care of yourself first and foremost for a long season. You don't need to be running out of the gates, especially in spring training. But as the season comes along, you start to back off more of the day-to-day stuff and really just focus on, you know, being able to play on a daily basis.
More exercises, different exercises now that the surgery's been done?
Just a little different. I still have the same routine, and I've added a couple pieces to you know, some of the core work, some hip mobility and stretching and flexibility stuff, and all that stuff. If I kind of cross it off my checklist on a daily basis, I feel as good as I ever have. And it's just about being consistent with the routine and you know, feeling good to come the end of spring training going into the season.
What is the level of confidence you have from the right side after a year like last year from that side of the plate?
You know, it's high. It's obviously, as a switch hitter, you're not going to get as many at bats. So the at bats that you do have, you have to try to, you know, simplify things and try to do what you can to get comfortable and to visually be seeing the ball, because, you know, from the left side to the right side, you tend to see the ball better from the left side just because you see so many more pitches over the course of a season. So that was the biggest thing for me last year, especially in spring training. I worked on a few mechanical things, and it went well for me. But you know, really when I started to put at bats together and see lefties, you know, a couple lefties back to back or something during the season, that's when you really get comfortable. And obviously when you're getting hits and having productive at bats, that confidence just kind of builds.
Neil, the Rangers are 2 points behind the Penguins. Are you getting nervous?
I'm never nervous about the Rangers, Steve. I'm sorry.
Neil Walker, appreciate the time as always.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, Gary, back up to you.
It's a very confident
Whoa.
fan.
Have to get Boomer Esiason on him.
I thought Steve might take a punch at him when he said that.
That's right. I forgot that Steve is as big a Ranger fan as Boomer.
Steve's interview with Neil brought to you by Citi. 2-1 to Michael Taylor. Short hop by Reyes, and he throws him outside, retired. So 2 scoreless innings for Logan Taylor. Allowed just 1 hit. We go to the bottom of the 4th at Port St. Lucie, 1-0 Washington. year long with a continuous stream of all the latest scoops and developments from spring training, featuring behind-the-scenes video and live updates straight from Port St. Lucie on Mets Blog, presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV. It is a hot, wonderful, beautiful Florida afternoon.
I have not visited that part of Port St. Lucie. I have to go there tomorrow.
Get you over there. Yeah, take you for a little tour of the neighborhood. Old friend Oliver Perez is in to pitch to Curtis Granderson, and a 2-hopper for Murphy. 1 pitch and 1 out for Ollie, who was in 64 games for the Nats last year.
You know, he's really carved out a nice career for himself. After that big contract that the Mets gave him, looked like maybe he was done in baseball, and he's become a big part of that bullpen.
It was really in Seattle that he reclaimed his career as a left-handed specialist. He went to Arizona, Houston, and then landed with the Nats last year.
You know, I looked at his numbers. That ERA you saw was high, but he had 3 or 4 really bad games that kind of inflated that number.
Yeah, too many walks, but otherwise he pitched well. Here's Cespedes. Anderson, a comebacker his first time up.
Boy, he generates just so much bat speed, even here in February.
He's talked about his goal this spring being very much as it was last year, to be a little more selective.
What, in his cars or at the plate?
In his approach to hitting. But his walk rate was up last year, and you know, it's one of those circular things. If you're more selective, you get more pitches to hit.
Well, I think for the Mets, and Keith talked about in the open, you know, if Conforto and others are hitting the way they can and protect this guy at all, he's going to be pitched to. When he gets pitched to, forget about it.
I still like him in the cleanup role. I know that they moved Conforto up in that 3rd hole.
Out to center field, chasing Eaton way back onto the track, and it's over his head. He lost it at the last moment, and Cespedes goes into second with a double. Eaton, who is a terrific center fielder, looked like he just lost that ball at the last moment.
Ball had a little of that spin, Keith, moved from center field towards right field.
Well, it's kind of fading towards the right field side. He kind of just pulled his glove back in. It did look like he lost it a little bit at the end, or he just couldn't get there.
Or was he shy of the wall at that point?
Yep. Well, there's the power of Cespedes. Very powerful hitter.
Cespedes will come out of the game after his long double. Gavin Cecchini will run for him at second base. And here's David Wright, and he yanks one, knocked down by Soto. Still has time to recover and throws out Wright for the second out. So 2 away now. Cabrera. Struble fly to left his first time up. Oliver Perez, the 4th Nationals pitcher. They've gone inning at a time with Gio Gonzalez, Trevor Gott, Joe Nathan, and now Perez. It's funny how it works. Nathan, who's battling for a job on this team, trying to reclaim his career, 42 years old, faced 3 batters through 8 pitches, but he gave up 2 bullets. Yeah. So you know, how do you put that in the hopper as a first effort?
Very peculiar positioning of Perez's glove as he looks in to get the sign. It's like he's serving tea.
You know, this is the first time that I've seen both managers and coaching staffs that sit on the chairs near the dugout are protected by netting.
Yep.
Never seen that before.
I wonder if that's a new rule.
I'm sure it is.
Because they've always sat outside the dugout because the dugout is so crowded, especially early in spring training.
Gets us back to, at some point, they're going to have to protect the fans more with the netting also.
Well, more and more teams are extending netting to the ends of dugouts, as has been recommended but not mandated by Major League Baseball.
They should mandate it, in my opinion.
Just looks like a pitcher's screen, Ronnie, almost, but that's not in the L shape.
A larger version of that pitchback that we used to throw balls against when we were kids.
Topped foul, 2-2. And Dave Racanello makes his first appearance of the season. Rack, a mainstay, 17 years now as a Mets bullpen catcher.
Can you believe that?
17.
It's hard to believe.
Why is it so hard to believe?
Well, because he looks so young.
Good for him.
It's good, man.
It's good work if you can get it.
Good, man.
I biked from New York to Florida, climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and has listened to Keith mispronounce his name for 12 years now. That's drilled to left field, but right at Taylor, and that retires the side. Cespedes is a long double, but the Mets do not score after 1-0 Washington. The Mets as we go to the fifth. Gavin Cecchini stays in at second base. Ahmed Rosario, the Mets' top prospect, comes into play short. TJ Rivera is now at third. Ty Kelly moves from second base to left field. Champ Stewart is now in center field. And the new pitcher for the Mets, the newly re-signed Jerry Blevins.
Well, 73 games, workhorse for the thin left-hander. Good season last year.
Adam Lynn leads off and takes a strike.
Remember that point in the season where Jerry Blevins really just pitched with his fastball?
Yes.
It's like about a month stretch.
He started throwing his breaking ball more. I mean, his fastball more, excuse me. Another guy that wanted to stay in New York.
Well, let's go downstairs to Steve Gelbs, who's standing by with the captain. Steve.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gary. And David, for you, this is, you know, a much different spring than last year. You're in a game already. Took about halfway through spring training last season to get into one. You know, just how far ahead of the curve are you now than you were last year, especially in terms of that back?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's nice to get out here with the guys on day one, or at least the first home game, get a couple at bats. have a couple good solid at bats, you know, for game one, something to work off of. You know, when you're not in there for, you know, 8 months and then you hop back in there, it kind of feels a little foreign at first, and then you kind of settle in and get in the swing of things. So hopefully that's the case, and hopefully, you know, defensively comes along just as quickly.
What is the biggest, you mentioned it feeling a little foreign, what's the biggest change when you haven't been in there for as long as you have and you're facing live pitching now?
The bat feels a lot heavier. You know, it's a lot easier to sit out there and take BP or hit off a tee or do those types of things when we get into a real game situation. Obviously things speed up a little bit. You know, you get a little bit of adrenaline. You know, you hear the fans, and you know, you want to put on a good show for them. So, you know, maybe you start trying to do a little too much, but you know, I felt like I had a couple good at bats, saw some pitches, and hit a couple balls hard.
Last year was really your first year trying to figure out a plan for how to approach a season of spring training with the back injury. You feel like you have a much better handle on how to do that this time around? Yeah,
I think so. You know, and as far as the back goes, you know, it's been I had a spring to go through that and kind of, you know, see what it takes to get ready to play every day. You know, now it's just a matter of getting everything else caught up, and you know, coming off of neck surgery, you know, being idle for as long as I was, you know, not getting kind of clearance to do much until, you know, mid-December. You know, I still feel like there's a ways to go, you know, physically before I feel like you know, I'm really, you know, back to what I felt like before the surgery. But that's what spring's for, and I'm glad, you know, I'm probably the only one in here that's glad that the World Baseball Classic is going on, that we get a few extra weeks this year.
You know, last year everybody wanted to focus on the back with you, but we didn't really know just how much you were dealing with that neck. And you said something earlier to us in spring that was kind of a revelation. You mentioned how when you were up at the plate, there were times where you couldn't even look fully back towards the pitcher. Just how much was that impeding you at the plate last year? And now that the neck is fixed, how much different is it up at the plate?
Well, the neck feels terrific. You know, that's something that, you know, I'm feeling very confident going into the spring, you know, about. You know, but it got to the point where, you know, starting spring training, you just felt like I kept sleeping on it wrong. And, you know, once it got to the point where, you know, where it was tough, like you mentioned, to kind of look at the pitcher, you know, fully and kind of focus my attention on him. You know, I said something and, you know, felt like I had surgery, you know, a couple weeks later. So, you know, it was a surprise to me, you know, just how serious it was. But, you know, surgery went great, rehab went great. And as far as, you know, I know moving forward, won't have any problems with it.
I know the goal is to be there on opening day, but do you find that you're able to be a little bit more patient after how the last 2 years have gone, just trying to make sure that your body feels good enough for the long haul and don't focus on one specific date?
Well, it's not just that. You know, if I'm going to be out there, I want to be able to produce. And, you know, as it's been talked about, our depth is incredible this year. This is probably the most depth that I've ever seen on our team here in New York with the Mets. So, you know, I think that the goal for me is not just how quickly I can get out there, but also, you know, when I get out there, I need to be like my old self, and I need to be, you know, as close to 100% as possible. So that's the real goal.
I know that the fans, they've seen you evolve throughout your life from super prospect to, you know, the captain of this team, but off the field as well. It was a big year for you last year, a big offseason now with a new baby. How's everything going with the young family?
Oh, it's awesome. You know, hopefully she's a little daddy's girl. You know, poor girl already looks like me. You know, so, you know, it's really cool, you know, going home every day and, you know, kind of seeing her grow and, you know, being able to play with her. So, you know, an incredible feeling. And, you know, hopefully she gets to see me play a lot of games this year.
Is there ever a new perspective on things when something like that happens in your life?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so. You know, I was, you know, that was the big issue for me was, you know, surgery. I couldn't do anything for a couple months, and I wanted to make sure I was able to hold her. So, you know, I think that was obviously an important part, a very important part of my life.
Soto homers to dead center. It's a two-run shot, and David, we'll leave it there. So appreciate the time, as always. Actually, real quickly, are you sick of Jose yet, or you're just happy that he's back here?
I've been sick of Jose for a number of years, and I can't tell him enough how tired I am of him already. I already told him I'm rooting for the Dominican Republic to go as far as possible in this World Baseball Classic, so he stays away. But no, he's awesome. I'm sure he's in here watching this, and you know, I'm going to get into it with him when I walk back into the clubhouse.
I figured that would be your answer. David, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Gary, back to you.
All right, Neftali Soto hitting one off the batter's eye, a two-run homer off Jerry Blevins to give the Nationals a 3-0 lead. And Clint Robinson takes a curveball for a strike.
Pretty impressive display of power here from Soto. Dead central. It's a big ballpark. 410 out there.
You're right, Keith. You don't see a handful of balls off that dime bag out there.
10 home runs in the minor leagues for Soto last year after some brief big league time with Cincinnati. Robinson grounded out his first time up. Well, it's nice to see David with a smile on his face and able to take the field today in a DH role. Don't know when we're going to be able to see him play in the field. I was talking with him yesterday, and he said it's amazing when you can't do anything. And literally, he was not allowed to do anything for 6 or 7 months after the neck surgery. The things that you take for granted that you have to build back from zero.
Well, I remember last year towards the end of the season, I don't know if you guys remember, but you know, walking in the bowels of the stadium, and we'd be on our 5th floor where we do the games, and David would walk by with his headset on, but all he could do was walk around the stadium. Couldn't do anything more than that.
He couldn't even sit in the dugout during games because of the fear that if a ball came in there, he couldn't get out of the way quickly enough. As Robinson takes a call, 3rd strike, and Blevins has his 2nd strikeout. It's in the bullpen during games. So, you know, he's only been running for a month and a half, and it took a while for that to get up to full speed. And the last thing to come is the shoulder. And, you know, at this point, he's throwing from 60 feet, but that's a long way from being able to play in a game and play in the field. Emmanuel Burris now pinch hitting.
And speaking of young kids and babies, Ron, how's your little prince?
Oh, he just turned a year old 2 days ago.
That picture you sent to me last month, he's just adorable.
He is a cute kid.
Rivera handles it and throws out Burris. Side retired. Soto's 2-run homer expands the Nationals lead. Halfway through, 3-0 Nats. Practice pitchers sort of throwing. I guess this must have been from yesterday.
What is that? How am I supposed to hit that? He's not throwing anything.
Well, it's a lot easier to hit Syndergaard when he's throwing that way, isn't it?
That's right.
I mean, I know he throws hard, but
well, an entirely new team on the field for the Nats. That is Jonathan Solano catching, Matt Skoll at first, Wilmer Defoe at second, Emmanuel Burris is now the shortstop. There he is. Drew Ward is at third. Andrew Stevenson in left field, Rafael Bautista in center, and Brian Goodwin in right. And I hope you have that all straight, because there'll be a quiz.
I'm not doing it again. Is that what you're saying?
And Matt Albers, who very famously at Citi Field early last season in an interleague game, hit a triple.
Person least likely to hit a triple that plays in the major leagues.
It was one of it was a terrible moment from a Mets perspective, but a it probably ranked second to the Cologne home run in unlikeliest hitting moments in the Major League season in 2016. Wilmer Flores up for the second time, flied out to right his first time up. I believe this is our first "Let's Go Mets" chant of the spring. Matt Albers, who probably is going against that cliche. You know, he's in the best shape of his life.
Well, I remember, I don't know if you remember this, Keith, but one spring training, Sid Fernandez went to Hawaii. He went on a strict diet, came in about 30 pounds lighter.
And couldn't get anybody out.
Couldn't get anybody out, and they're like, Sid, you got to start eating pizzas again, buddy. Let's go.
Start staying up late, play the guitar, and eat. You're good at it.
Go back to the poi. Hit toward the hole, and Wilmer's got a base hit. Third hit of the afternoon for the Mets, a leadoff single for Wilmer. Here's your 4th, 5th inning recap. Bryce Harper hit one almost to Martin County, his first time up today. Yoenis Cespedes hit one to the warning track for a double for the Mets' only extra base hit of this game. Dominic Smith will run for Wilmer Flores at first base as Jay Bruce steps in. Here's Dom. A little slimmer version of Dom Smith this spring. Jay Bruce grounded out his first time up.
Well, a good at bat by Wilmer here. 2 strikes. Shoulder tucked. Driving towards the pitcher. Hits the ball right where it's pitched. Wilmer does that well. He gets to go to the head of the class with that swing.
Gets to go to the clubhouse for the remainder of the afternoon.
That's even better than the head of the class.
While it seems as though pitchers now pitch fewer innings earlier in the spring, it feels as though position players are still handled the same way as they always have been.
Yes, I agree. And they have to get, you know, they hit a lot more than back in my day. There's one thing I could have done, I think that would have been an improvement, was I never swung the bat in the off season, and I probably should have took BP maybe 3 times a week just to stay a little sharp. But you're right, Garrett. You need to get out there and play. You need to be on your feet and get that stamina. You can do all the conditioning that you want, and these guys really work out on the off season and during the season. But there's no substitute about going out there and playing a 9-inning ball game and playing your position, standing out there in the heat, and just building up that stamina to get you going in April.
3-1 to Bruce, and lifts one foul. Well, you know, you're right that guys hit more during the offseason. Now, they also come down here earlier. You get a lot of guys in here at the end of January. But the official report date for position players is only a week before the games start. So how do you get up to speed in terms of seeing major league velocity pitching?
Well, try doing it when you haven't swung the bat all winter, which was myself. You're behind. Pitchers were, Ronnie will tell you, base hit to right field.
Smith will go first to third. So Jay Bruce with a bounding single, and the Mets have runners at the corners and nobody out. And Bruce will come out for a pinch runner. Travis Tyrone will come in to run for him.
So everybody knew in spring training, and Ronnie will tell you this, that the pitchers were always ahead of the hitters, and it just took you a while. And I always had to work from the back forward. You're never going to get your timing by going out in front, getting out in front of the ball. So you're going to get jammed a lot. You want to start back and then gradually work yourself forward where you make the proper contact, and that's all timing and rhythm.
There's Ty Kelly flying out his first time up. I always feel for the hitters the first day they get to camp and they face the live BP.
I never liked live BP.
with the the real major league pitchers pitching to them.
And they're ahead of you, and they want to get you out.
Well, they don't want to look bad.
Well, we don't want to look bad.
Well, that's the thing. That's the one day that big league hitters always look bad.
Although I will say, the older the hitter is, the more experience they have. A lot of times they don't swing a lot during those. They'll just watch the pitches.
I never liked the inter-squad games because you're facing your own pitchers. I never liked it. It's just, I'd rather face an opponent.
You know, very interestingly, this year, for the first time that I can ever remember, the Mets did not have an inter-squad game. Usually they have one the day before their first exhibition game, which would have been Thursday. They didn't have an inter-squad game.
We used to always have like 2 or 3, right, Ron?
Yeah, definitely. I remember the first spring training I was with the Oakland A's. Inter-squad game, faced Ricky Henderson, hit him with the first pitch. He dropped the bat and walked into the clubhouse. Didn't say anything to anyone and left the ballpark.
No.
Yes. He just was so upset because, you know, most players don't want to be in the inter-squad game. So as soon as he was hit, that's it. And he just walked out.
And this was your first?
For spring training with the A's.
Wow. Yeah. That really ingratiated him.
Oh, jeez. Just trying to come in. Get out of the way, Rico.
Ran one to Kelly. And there's ball 4 and the bases are loaded. First walk of the afternoon on either side. MLB.TV Premium is back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, enjoy almost 300 spring training games and the 2017 World Baseball Classic. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Well, Rene Rivera had the Mets' first hit of the afternoon, a single to right in the third, and now he'll bat with the bases loaded and nobody out.
I guess the "Let's Go Mets" chant worked.
So far.
Yeah.
And Rene lifts one foul. Rivera, one of 11 Mets who will be leaving shortly to play in the World Baseball Classic. They'll be playing for Puerto Rico. Ty Kelly, who's at first base, will be playing for Israel. Brandon Nimmo will be playing for Italy.
What exactly are the rules there?
Yeah, it's a little loose. Albers comes home with it. Solano turns the 1-2-3 double play.
Well, I jinxed it. Sorry, folks.
It's only spring.
So 2 out, runners at second and third.
What is there is a rule though that like your grandparents or
well, Seth Lugo is pitching for Puerto Rico because his grandfather was from Puerto Rico.
Okay.
The odd thing is that you get players sometimes who play for countries that they've never even visited. And in Ty Kelly's case, his mom is Jewish, so he qualified to play for Israel, but he'd never been to Israel. So this winter he went and visited Israel before he played for them.
I think he went with Ike Davis and others, and it was a real success. They said Ike was a rock star there because they're, you know,
who's Ike in
some New York connection.
Now?
I don't know.
Dodgers?
Maybe.
I think was Josh Satin part of that trip too?
I think so.
I think Josh was on our air in the last day or two.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Like Baseball Night in New York or one of those shows,
everybody
right?
passes through the SNY studios at some point or another.
We did.
Yes. And of course SNY will be getting new studios very soon. It's a big move.
Yes,
it's a mass migration from Midtown to downtown.
Some are not too happy with it. They're gonna have to get on that one train. Good luck.
But the studios are spectacular.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great look. TJ Rivera batting for the first time. And he bangs one foul. TJ coming off a tremendous year in Vegas last year.
Got some nice hits down the stretch for the Mets also. Played some second base, third base.
Well, what he proved was that his skills were transferable to the major league level. A guy who's not going to hit for a whole lot of power, although he'll pop the occasional one. Not going to draw a lot of walks, but he puts bat on ball and hits line drives.
Ooh.
And got the bat on ball a little quickly there and almost took out some teammates. There's Glenn Sherlock, the new Mets third base coach. Spent the last 19 years as a coach with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Brought here not only to be the third base coach, but maybe even more importantly to be the Mets catching coach.
Tim Tuffle took an assignment as a what do you call him, a roving scout.
Roving instructor. Yeah.
Also an ambassador for the club. You know, I think it's so difficult to be a young catcher, and Darno's not that young now. He's got a few years under his belt. But a lot of times, if you don't have a catching coach, you feel ganged up on sometimes as a catcher, because it's the pitching coach and the pitchers and they're complaining that you're not putting down the right fingers, and you have someone on your behalf to be on your side. I think that's important.
Rivera hits a two-hopper to short. Burris almost got handcuffed. Low throw, but dug out nicely by Skoll. And that saves a run and retires the side. So the Mets loaded him up with nobody out. They do not score. Matt Skoll making sure they don't score with a nice backhand pick. After 5, 3-0 Nats. Help local baseball and softball leagues with grants, clinics, and Mets game experiences. Right now, we're accepting applications for local youth baseball and softball leagues to nominate a league in need. Apply today at sny.tv/playball. Kevin McGowan, who pitched at 3 levels for the Mets last year, is in.
Nice strikeout to innings ratio.
Into right center field, and that's a base hit. So Rafael Bautista will try for second and makes it safely. As Travis Tyrone had trouble on his first chance in the outfield.
Well, Bautista hustled down the line and can run. And just a muff there. Just a little la-di-da. And, you're trying to impress the manager. You don't want to do that. Makes the turn and gone.
So it'll be a single for Bautista, an error on Tyrone. And now Wilmer Defoe takes high. Let's go downstairs to Steve.
Guys, here with Jerry Blevins, and we'll try and get a lot in, but he might have to tap me out to go do some arm work, so I'll try and go quickly here. But Jerry, when you re-signed with the Mets, was it more about coming back to this team or more about the second season of Hello Jerry in our pregame show?
Definitely the team first and foremost, but that's definitely a perk. I got to say politically correct things, so no, that's definitely a perk of the job. So I'm glad to do it. It's fun.
You know, you are someone that I mean, you're a big thinker and you're a big reader. This offseason, any books in particular that stood out that people should take a look at?
I actually got asked this a little bit ago, a couple weeks ago. I reread the book Unbroken. Have you read that? The story, yeah, the story of it's like the Pacific. It's the World War II. You don't really learn that.
It's the movie, yeah. I saw the movie.
You learn more about, you know, the German side of World War II than you do being in the Pacific. So it was very nice. A good book, good story.
When you think the game of baseball too, I know you're, you know, somewhat unique in that way as well, and you really try and analyze things, hitters, counts. When you're in spring training, what type of work do you do? What do you try and get out of a game like today, these early starts or these early performances?
First and foremost, you want to come out feeling healthy, feeling strong. After that, you want to basically throw strikes, get your team, you know, back into the dugout, and just get a feel for your pitches. Obviously, the result today is not what I wanted, but I came out feeling strong, feeling healthy, and I had good movement on my pitches. But outside of that, you just want to, you know, it's so early at camp. We have such a long one this year. You just want to be healthy and moving forward.
When the Mets signed you, they signed you as a left-on-left guy, but last year you actually had better numbers against righties. Any reason in particular that you can pinpoint?
I mean, I kind of fluctuated my whole career between being more dominant towards lefties and righties. It's kind of a back and forth thing. I prepare every day like I know who I'm coming in to face. It'll be the lefties in the lineup, but I pride myself on being able to get the righties out as well. It's part of my game. It's part of the craft. It's part of being a pitcher and a competitor that, you know, you want to always compete no matter who it is. So you try to do your job no matter who's up at the plate. And so hopefully you can get those guys out.
Do you change your routine at all, though, if you have a feeling like maybe this beginning of this season where, you know, we don't know how that bullpen, the back end of that bullpen is going to look. Maybe you'll be asked to do more than just get the lefties out. Does your routine change if you think, okay, I might get a full inning today, or maybe even an inning and a third?
Our coaching staff does a great job letting us know kind of what our role is going to be moving forward in a series, or, you know, if a particular guy has a day off. So I do what I'm told. I'm very good at following orders, and so again, our coaching staff does such a good job of letting us know situational awareness, and that makes it easy for us to be prepared. So there's no excuse on our end not to be ready to do our job.
I know you were talking about just feeling good after an outing like this, but specifically against the Nationals, a guy like Bryce Harper, do you take anything out of these games that you try and carry forward into the regular season?
Yeah, I do my best not to have to face these guys in spring training, because you don't want to tip, you know, things you've been working on. So I did a good job of avoiding that. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to. It's such a chess match for me. I don't have, you know, power stuff to where I'm just going to throw it by guys. You know, I have pieces and I move and I play a little bit of a long game, and so you never want to tip your hand early. So it's nice not to have to face these guys, you know, the heart of the order.
Jerry, go get that arm work in.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
You know, when Jerry Blevins went into the offseason off the credentials he had last year and saw Brett Cecil sign a 4-year, $30 million deal with the Cardinals, Mike Dunn,
that's right,
3 years, $19 million with the Rockies, I think he had every reason to expect that even if he didn't get quite those numbers, that he was going to get a lucrative multi-year deal from somebody. And you know, much as was the case with Cespedes the winter before, he kind of came back to the Mets because he didn't get the offers he had expected. I guess my question is, when that happens to a player, how long does it take to get over it and get back into, you know, the flow of what you're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, it can be difficult when you expect a certain kind of contract. I think what happened this winter, two things really in the free agent market. I think there were a glut of relief pitchers, and there was also a disparity between the closers who got a tremendous amount of money and those guys that are not close and pitched, you know, the 7th or 8th inning. And then the power hitters who did not get the contracts they thought they'd get.
Well, the one-dimensional power guys,
there you go.
Right? The Chris Carters,
the Trumbos, right, and others.
But I guess in Jerry's case, you know, to see other left-handed specialists cash in And, you know, again, he may not have been expecting what Mike Dunn got, but he should something close to it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the tough part of sitting out as a free agent, is that there's expectation, but sometimes you run out of teams.
Kevin McGowan having a rough go of it. Brian Goodwin pulls one down to first. Dom Smith checks the runners. He's got a runner hung up between second and third. Now breaking for the plate is Bautista. The throw coming home, and he got him. Plawecki got hit hard in the shin, and he's shaken up, holding that left knee. But a bullet of a throw home by Ahmed Rosario to gun down Bautista at the plate and turn the double play, but perhaps at the cost of Kevin Plawecki, who's holding that left leg.
Well, the throw brought him a little up the line and put him in harm's way, and it's almost like the runner coming in just slid right into his shin guard. It looked bad from the start, and you can see bad now.
Well, here's the slide that throws into the line. Oh, it might be a hyperextension there.
I mean, that's awful.
And he still had that cleat planted when he came in and hit that knee or just below.
I mean, spring training is just so crazy. You work out for 4 or 5 months in the winter, nose to the grindstone, and a simple play like that.
Well, also, you know, you try and teach players not to go in head first into a catcher's shin guards because you think that it's the offensive player who's going to get injured in a circumstance like that. And now here it goes very much the other way.
Well, he just caught Plawecki, though, just so vulnerable, like you said, with the cleat in the ground. And that's the common slide by a lot of players. They like to go head first and kind of go past home plate and reach back.
It's just a ball right there and a little hyperextension.
And that's the problem, because it was right after his foot came down. As soon as his cleat hit the ground and started to be planted, that's when Bautista hit him. The worst possible moment before he had any time to adjust. And nice to see Kevin at least be able to put some weight on that left leg.
I didn't think he was getting up from that.
No. Kevin Plawecki, who worked so hard this winter to put himself in a better position after a rough year last year. And hopefully this will not keep him out of action for too long. Here it is again.
You can see a little hyperextension back there when he got hit around halfway up the shin. And he can see instantly in pain here as he's grimacing after contact immediately.
So I see his left leg kind of kicked out of there. Maybe that's what might have saved him a more serious injury.
Well, Jorge Correa will take over the catching.
Well, what's lost in all that play was what a nice heads-up play by Dominic Smith at first base. Did everything properly.
So now fly ball hit to right field. Back to the warning track goes Tyrone, and it's out of here. A 2-run homer off the bat of Andrew Stevenson, and that tacks on 2 more for the Nationals. On the play at the plate, did they call him safe?
I think they called him.
They did.
Yeah, I think they called him safe.
I thought that Plawecki had made the tag, but
he had dropped the ball.
Well, there you go. So a run scored on that play, and then 2 more on the home run by Stevenson.
Well, with the wind blowing out from the left field line, foul pole to the right field foul pole. We've been here long enough to know if you get the ball in the air today to right field, it's going to go out. Yeah, we were so concerned about Plawecki. I didn't see the call myself.
I guess I just assumed, and that's the first incorrect assumption of the spring.
We'll only have about 30, 40 more.
It's very big of you, Gare.
Oh, I'm very good at being wrong. Matt Skoll is now the batter. Took over at first base. The other piece of that play on which Plawecki got hurt, even though the throw was somewhat offline, you saw the arm strength of Ahmed Rosario, part of the total package that the Mets are so excited about.
Well, he's probably their best prospect in quite some time.
Well, two guys were a part of that play. Dominic Smith had a terrific year last year, and Rosario, two future, hopefully, stars.
Skoll drives one to the gap in right center, and that's gone. Right over the send in the clown sign. Back-to-back home runs make it 7-0 Washington. A rough afternoon for Kevin McGowan.
Fastball belt high out over the plate.
Peppering that fence.
So 4 home runs for the Nationals this afternoon. Starting out with the Titanic blast off the bat of Bryce Harper back in the second inning. And Soto in the 5th, and Stevenson and Skoll here in the 6th. And now Jonathan Solano, the batter. Here's that play at the plate again. Now looking for the result as opposed to the injury. The tag made, but the ball right there underneath the runner.
How did we miss that?
Because we were looking at Plawecki and not at the ball.
I didn't miss it.
Of course he did. You know why that is, Ronnie? Here's why that is. Because while Keith and I take a break from baseball during the winter, you work every single day. I mean,
you are sick.
Every time I turn on the MLB Network during the winter, there you are.
Listen, I apologize to everyone out there. You know, at some point, I'm going to have to take it to the house. So I'm just trying, you know, in case it, well, you do it a little earlier.
Building it up, building up the bank.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have a, you know, you do have a 1-year-old.
Right. That's right.
You got the Bank of Ron.
I mean, let's just face it, compared to myself and Keith, you're much more in demand.
Think about it. No, that's not the case. This is my strength for the MLB Network in the winter. Nothing is going on. So my strength is they brought me in and said, hey, listen, we don't care if you talk about anything. Just talk for 5 minutes. That's really my strength.
Right at the screen, but it's just beyond his reach. Well, that's what they used to tell me when I worked in radio, that our job was to fill the time between the commercials.
That's right. The best part of working there in the winter is I get to work with, you know, a lot of players from my generation. I get to work with Al Leiter, which is so funny. He's got so much energy.
The man should be banned from caffeine. Who else did you work with this winter? Who else did they run through there?
You know who I thought was the most impressive? I did not work with him, but I've watched him on air a little bit. Have you? You'll be happy about this. Have you watched Fernando Perez on the air yet?
I have not. From Colombia.
Yeah, really good.
Well,
what do you expect?
This inning getting more challenging by the pitch for young Kevin McGowan. 28 pitches deep, and still only 1 out.
See, his face is flushed. That's what happens when you're out there working hard and not getting any good results. Right now, Kevin is a guy that, if you notice, every pitch is thrown max effort, and every pitch is really hard. So he doesn't have to really change his speed, and that's why he's had a little difficult time here in the inning.
It's one of those pitchers from the Northeast who probably has a lot of pitches left in him. Nashua, New Hampshire kid.
I mean, I know the Mets have a lot of basketball players. Steve Galvich was mentioning it, Jacob deGrom and Gesellman, guys who can really play. But if they need a hockey player, McGowan's the man.
And he's working on that Mets pitcher flow.
Yeah, he is.
He has that Brent Gaff look, doesn't he?
Solano strokes one to center, and Stewart can't catch up with this one. Another extra base hit for the Nationals. And Solano, in a 10-pitch at bat, pulls in with a 1-out double. 3 straight extra base hits against McGowan.
Down and away fastball stayed in, and that's going to be all for McGowan. You always hate to see this, Gary. A young guy gets a chance in the big league camp and gets lit up. It's tough.
Adam Wilk will be coming in. Left-hander will replace McGowan, who takes his exit. 7-0 Nats. We'll be right back.
FiOS is not cable.
Minor league free agent Adam Wilk comes on to pitch for the Mets with 4 runs home for the Nats here in the 6th. Drew Ward strokes one out to left, and Ty Kelly is there for the 2nd out. Your upcoming Mets schedule presented by WB Mason. Let's see, we'll be back here tomorrow. Mets and Tigers on picks. We'll be here again on Monday. Mets and Astros on SNY. So 3 days in a row you got to put up with us.
I got tomorrow off. I'm going to study up on the Astros for Monday. Keith, you got the Tigers tomorrow.
Want to switch?
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
They got a lot of stars.
Yes,
for the Tigers.
Well, I saw the Tigers last year, right, Gary?
Yes, you did. I wasn't
You
there.
didn't. It was Gary Apple and I.
Yes. Clint Robinson up for the 3rd time, working as the DH today. He's grounded out and struck out. You know, springtime is our mix and match season.
That's right.
So Gary Apple will be by for some games, and we're very happy that Wayne Randazzo will be doing some games this spring.
Cool addition.
I think both you guys get a chance to work with Wayne.
See, you know, Gary's a seasoned veteran, folks. He doesn't need a full spring training, so you know we're going to keep him strong.
Wayne Randazzo, poor guy, never be the same after the spring training.
You know, the thing about Wayne, he can give as well as he can get.
He can give, but he hasn't dealt with Keith and I on top of our game.
I'll be very interested to see the remnants of him after you get done with him.
Yeah, it'll be like the Henry Hill scene from Goodfellas.
Just don't be too rough, because after he's done with you guys, he's scheduled to get married later this spring.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you don't want to break him down completely. You want to leave something left for the new bride. Robinson strikes out. Wilk gets a couple of outs, but a damaging inning for the Mets. 4-run score, and Kevin Plawecki leaves after taking a shot on the headfirst slide by Rafael Bautista. Painful inning for Plawecki and the Mets. The Nats lead 7-0 in the 6th. Home 6th inning, veteran Jeremy Guthrie on to pitch for the Nationals against Champ Stewart.
Guthrie experience in Baltimore of late, played in Kansas City through some of their best years, of course.
Was not in the big leagues at all last year, played in Australia and for a couple of AAA teams last season.
I think a Stanford grad is Jeremy Guthrie.
Now 37 years old. Champ Stewart played here in St. Lucie last year.
Good name.
Champ brings to mind Champ Summers.
Yeah.
Backup outfielder.
Detroit.
And the Reds. Was he even the Reds for a while?
San Diego, maybe?
But yes, played in the National League.
Jervis Harvin Stewart.
I go with Champ too.
His dad was Jervis as well, who was a minor league outfielder in the Orioles organization. And Jervis Stewart II has been champ since birth. Fouled that ball off his knee, or just below it.
Well, your manager's watching you.
Well, it's been a painful afternoon, or at least a painful sixth inning for the Mets.
What was the first year the Mets were here? What year was it? I mean, I was here and I can't remember. 88.
Yeah. So this is the Mets' 30th year, 30th spring training in Port St. Lucie.
You know, when the Mets first came here, the players all lived on Jensen Beach, so they make that 45-minute drive every day because there was really nothing out here at St. Lucie West. That has changed.
And this stadium looks like it may shortly get another major facelift. We're working on that deal right now. Jeremy Guthrie was part of the Royals 2 years ago when they were a world champion, but did not pitch against the Mets in the World Series. Full count to Stewart with Gavin Cicchini waiting on deck. And Guthrie strikes out Stewart for the first out. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by WB Mason, the official office supply company of the New York Mets. Who but WB Mason? By Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. And by Hyundai. Visit the Hyundai President's Day sales event for monumental deals on all your favorite Hyundai vehicles. Now Gavin Cicchini up for the first time at a home run in the Mets spring opener yesterday in Fort Myers. Cicchini had a tremendous offensive year with Vegas.
You mentioned that with T.J. Rivera. Does it translate at the big league level?
Well, think of it this way. The Mets had the top 3 hitters in the Pacific Coast League last year, right? Rivera, Nimmo, Cicchini finished 1, 2, 3 in the PCL batting race. So clearly there's a Vegas boost.
There's a Vegas boost, but you know, Keith was alluding to it before. The Mets have done an amazing job of developing young pitchers who can pitch at the big league level. Next step is, can they develop these players, offensive players like Conforto? Can they handle them in the right way that they take off and soar?
Well, we're seeing some of the next wave today with Rosario and Smith and Cicchini. The Mets had a stretch there where they took 3 straight high school position players with their #1 draft picks. Cicchini was one of those, Nimmo and Smith in 3 consecutive years, as they tried to build up their position player base, and some of that is starting to come to the surface. We saw a little of Nimmo at the big league level last year. Cicchini a cameo at the end of the year. That's driven to left field, chasing Stevenson back, and it's off his glove as he went into a belated dive, and into second base goes Cicchini.
Boy, that was a good try by Stevenson,
I'll say. Just out of his reach. Oh, he missed it.
Didn't open his glove.
Yeah,
right?
he had it. Clank.
At the outside. And then he lost the glove and the hat.
Almost separated his shoulder.
Nice top hand here, though, by Cicchini.
He gets on top of the high ball, Cicchini.
Cicchini's an interesting case because, you know, he looks like he's going to hit. The question is, where does he play?
Yeah.
I mean, Rosario has leapfrogged him as the shortstop of the future. So Cicchini's been playing a lot of second base earlier this spring. Some places he's not played much before. So here's Conforto, who's got his spring off to a great start yesterday with a base hit off a left-hander and a booming home run.
A strong kid, very strong legs. And he talked about, and Steve mentioned it earlier, about using his legs more. He got away from it, got too much upper body. I love his swing.
And he pulls that one through the hole for a base hit. Cicchini being waved around third. And And the Mets have their first run. Conforto thrown out at second base for the second out. So Michael Conforto now 3 for 3 to start the spring. Drives in the Mets' first run to make it 7-1.
Well, you're down 7-0 here. Here's the swing. Beautiful, nice down and in. That should be in his sweet spot. And he's determined. Nicely done. Love the swing. Always have loved the swing. You're down 7 runs. You don't get thrown out trying to advance to second. I know it's spring training. I'm sure that Terry will pull him aside.
Here's Ahmed Rosario up for the first time. Rosario finished last year in Binghamton and will probably start this year in AAA in Las Vegas. And just a phone call away from the big leagues.
Big kid, tall kid, slender, 6'2",
20 years old, right?
Just turned 21 in November.
Okay.
And hits the curveball to shallow center, and Batista comes on to get it, and that retires the side. But the Mets cash a run on Conforto's base hit. 7-1 Washington as we go to the 7th. Guarantee your seats for opening day in the biggest games of 2017 with the Mets ticket plan. Choose from a variety of 20, 41, and full season plans that access potential 2017 postseason access. For tickets, visit Mets.com/plans or call 718-507-TIXX. Emmanuel Burris up for the second time, grounded out in his only at bat. And he smacks one deep to left center. Kelly going back in the gap, and it's over his head and off the base of the wall. And Burris pulls into second base with a leadoff double. So the Nats, after scoring 4 runs in the 6th inning, try and get it started again in the 7th.
Wouldn't even have to watch this game if you just heard the sounds of the crack of the bat by the Nationals in the last half hour. You'd know what's going on.
Mid-season form.
Rafael Batista up for the second time. He had a base hit to start the 6th inning and then was involved in that play at the plate where he ran into Plawecki and knocked him out of the game. Tyrone pulls in the fly ball for the first out, and Burris goes over to third. I was thinking after the leadoff double, you know, if the Mets had decided to intentionally walk Batista, Adam Wilk would not have had to throw a pitch.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get that out of the way.
Because that will really make the game go faster.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
I thought you guys sent me a text that there's a 2-hour rule in spring training. That wasn't real?
It was on our wish list.
Oh.
The infield
My alarm just went off.
The infield comes in.
Well, that being said, Joe Torre was in the ballpark today.
Yeah.
Oh, Joe was.
And did you have a conversation about pace of game?
No, I did not. Every time I see Joe, I always feel like, you know, I took over for Joe in St. Louis back in '75. They traded into the Mets.
The passing of the torch that led Joe to his first managerial job.
Yes, it's funny how things work out. And so whenever I see Joe, it's kind of a crossroads in my career. You know, when I see him, it's kind of it's got importance.
Doing 1 to Wilmer Defoe, who drew a walk his first time up.
Stay. I guess working on the infield in.
Off the end of the bat, the runner holds, and the tag made by Cicchini for the second out.
Good heads-up play by Cicchini.
Squibber here. Infield in. It's a hold. Pitcher covering, RJ.
This play by Cicchini, who turned a really nice double play in Fort Myers yesterday.
You were talking about Cicchini. I was thinking about in today's game where there's so much copycatting. It's always been that way in baseball. Versatility is a huge thing. So I think for him, he doesn't really have a position. He's got to concentrate on being able to play a few positions.
Well, Terry Collins has even said that, and you know the tendency is to try and imitate the organizations that are successful, and with the Cubs having won the World Series with so many players who they can move around the field, Javier Baez, Chris Bryant, whatever. Certainly that is a watchword for every team now, and especially in the National League where you have such a short bench. I mean, there was a move afoot during the labor negotiation that ended this winter to maybe add a 26th player. But that did not go through. So, you know, in an era of 12 or 13-man pitching staffs and 4 or 5-man benches in the National League, you've got to have guys who can play lots of different places.
I do have to say the most disappointing thing that come out of that agreement was they did not take care of September baseball. Right. That was a shame.
And that was on the table. And that was part of the possibility of expanding the rosters earlier in the season to 26 was by limiting the expansion of the rosters in September. But didn't happen that way. Now you've got post agreement, you've got some interesting friction going on between the commissioner's office and the Players Association about the pace of game initiatives that the higher ups are looking to push through. That's it down the right field line, and the players have been more resistant, which is why we can make fun of the automatic intentional walk, which was the only thing they've done, which will do absolutely nothing to speed the pace of play.
Yep. But it's progress.
Oh, it's nothing. I mean, we're talking about, you know, 20 seconds every 5 days.
I understand.
It's ridiculous.
I hear
you. Well, with the way that rules are now, you could bring a guy in to intentionally walk a batter and then bring another pitcher in to replace him, so it could slow down the game.
Yeah, but that's always been the case.
Yeah.
It's no different than it was. Now the only difference is the guy doesn't have to throw a pitch.
And I see they're going to give the commissioner's office is going to be very sensitive to Chief Oahu for the Cleveland Indians logo.
What does that have to do with pace of play?
Just thought I'd throw it in there.
Please don't get us fired on the first day.
Well, it's a fact.
3-2 to Goodwin. Well, I think what we're moving toward, and I know the players are going to be resistant, especially a lot of the Pedro Baez's of the world, but we're going to have a pitch clock before long.
Absolutely.
And I don't know. I was so against that 5 years ago. At this point, maybe it's the right way to go. That's popped straight up. Carrillo gets help from Smith, and Dom Smith nicely comes in to make the grab. That throw well done from our former first baseman over here. That's hard earned.
Outside the Rose.
Well, ever since Dominic Smith signed, the scouts have raved about his defense. Here's part of why.
Well, you know, as Ronnie said, good guys, good fielders want the ball. This is the first baseman or third baseman's ball. It's a tougher play for the catcher. He's got the sun to deal with. If you can get there, you take the ball. And you, as a manager, as a former first baseman, you want to see that kind of aggressiveness. So well done.
And now Dom will lead off in the 7th inning. Dominic Smith is a big guy, but he's about 20 pounds lighter than he was last year. Changes for the Nats. Brandon Snyder now in left. Andrew Stevenson moves to center. The former Tampa Bay Ray, Enny Romero, is on the mound. There's Romero, whom the Nats picked up in a minor league deal about 2 weeks ago. 55 games for Tampa last year. We got word on Kevin Plawecki. They're calling it a left knee contusion, and he will go for precautionary x-rays. So hopefully those will check out. It was certainly scary when he first got hit and went down, but very encouraging that he was able to put some weight on that leg as he walked off. Dom Smith is a big guy whose power just started to come out last year. Hit 14 home runs. And I think from a scouting perspective, his stock has only risen over the last year or so.
Well, he was quoted, said, you know, be a good hitter first and the power will come. We'll see.
I agree.
Yeah.
Don't force the power.
Now there's ball 4 and Smith is on. Time to check in around the majors presented by Citi. Well, around the National League East, we talked about the Nats and their bullpen questions. Braves move into a new stadium, and they've got Bartolo Colon and R.A. Dickey, among others, joining their pitching staff. The Marlins still trying to figure out how to best replace the late Jose Fernandez. That'll be a huge problem, but they certainly have got great position talent in Miami. While the Phillies still wait for their farm system to produce a new winning team. Maybe not this year, but maybe in years to come. There's Travis Tyrone.
So the Mets open up against the Braves, right?
They could see Bartolo Colon and R.A. Dickey the first 2 days of the season.
Wouldn't that be something? Syndergaard, Colon. I bet you Bart doesn't swing.
He's going to try to go deep.
And Tyrone is down on strikes, and that's the first out. But think about that. I mean, you know, the Mets made a wonderful trade when they dealt Dickey after he won a Cy Young, 120 games. They allowed Colon to walk because they thought the price was too high, even though they definitely wanted him back this year. They weren't going to shell out the $13 million that the Braves did.
Also, Bart wants to start,
right?
You know,
and he's 44 years old.
Yeah.
So, but you're talking about two guys who, over the last half decade, have been among the greatest folk heroes the Mets have had.
That's right.
And now coming back in enemy uniforms for a division rival, no less.
All right, with that Cy Young.
And I think it's a great move by the Braves. They've got a lot of young talent bubbling up. Their lineup is going to be really good, I think. But they're giving some backup to their young pitching staff by bringing in those two and Jaime Garcia as well.
Well, I think they got a good look at that young pitching staff last year and realized they weren't quite ready. That's why they've gotten those three veterans, Garcia, Colon, and Dickey. New stadium, you want to present your best foot forward. The Braves played .500 baseball over the second half of the season. Freddie Freeman, just a fantastic year.
And once they got Matt Kemp, that lineup looks completely different. And brought up Dansby Swanson, too.
Kemp's supposed to have lost 20 to 25 pounds also.
Ty Kelly pops one up. Goodwin coming over toward the line. And there are two out. But I mean, the first half of the year, that Braves lineup was very thin, and then it all of a sudden changed.
They were on pace to have a 62 Mets season if they didn't watch themselves.
Well, Freddie Freeman just got off of that terrible start last year, and we wound up having a fantastic second half.
And Ciarte was great. Mets know about that with that catch he made in Citi Field, one of the best I've ever seen to end the game.
Jorge Carrillo up for the first time, came in when Plawecki got hurt. The Phillies could be a threat only because their young pitching is pretty good.
They got a ways to go.
Fly ball out to right. Goodwin shading his eyes and stays with it to retire the side. Leadoff walk and one left. We're going to the eighth. The ever elusive foul ball. There are winners and there are losers. Monday is our next SNY telecast. The Mets host the Houston Astros, 1 o'clock Monday, right here on SNY.
It's going to be fun to see if they bring some of their great young talent, Springers and Correas and Bregmans.
Oh, nice shot right there. Very artistic. In the foreground, the palm tree. In the background, the field. Just brilliant.
You sound like a docent.
Josh Smoker on the mound for the Mets as we go to the 8th inning. The former Nationals first-round draft pick made his big league debut with the Mets last year.
Yeah, another one of those pitchers from Vegas that played a big part down the stretch.
And a guy who, before the re-signing of Jerry Blevins, looked like a pretty good bet to be on the squad, and now has a fight on his hands.
Isn't it funny? You're sitting at home and you see the reports come out, Blevins resigns, and it's like, whoa, that puts me behind the 8 ball.
Stevenson, who homered in the 6th inning, fouls one away. Matt Reynolds is coming to the game. He's playing third base. T.J. Rivera has moved out to left field, and Ty Kelly, in his third position of the day, has moved to center.
Versatility again, right?
Well, if not to be used by the Mets, at least to be used for Team Israel. There's strike 3 called, and Stevenson is out. 1 down in the 8th. Well, Sean Gilmartin started today, gave up a home run to Bryce Harper that may still be traveling. Logan Taylor looked good for his 2 innings. Jerry Blevins gave up a 2-run homer. And then Kevin McGowan had a very rough inning. Gave up a couple of home runs. Nats have hit 4 home runs today and leads 7-1 in the 8th. Here's Matt Skoll, who hit the most recent of those 4 home runs. Down the line and right against McGowan in the 6th. Smoker gets a slider in for a strike. 1-1.
Well, one thing you can say about Josh, when he came up, he wasn't afraid. He went right after the hitters. It's almost not fair, huh, Keith? See the
that early in spring?
Yeah, sliders and curveballs and changeups.
Smoker walked only 4 batters in 15 big league innings. 25 strikeouts in those 15 innings. But he also gave up 4 home runs in those 15 innings. So it's a fairly small sample size, but
one thing I remember about the Vegas contention of pitchers was it seemed like every day one of them was getting their first big league win.
And there's ball 4, and so a 3-2 breaking ball, and Skoll is on with the walk. Well, last year the Nats finished 8 games ahead of the Mets in the standings, and part of that was their victory in the season series, winning 12 of 19 from the Mets last year.
We're going to have to figure out how to get the Murph out.
Yeah, Murph did a little torching on the Mets last year.
Well, judging by today, they might have a more formidable Bryce Harper to deal with, too. Here's Solano hitting a double play ball right at Rosario. Easy turn for Cicchini. Nice throw, but Smith handles that for the 6-4-3 double play that ends the inning. To the bottom of the 8th we go. 7-1 Washington. Today at 4, UConn women's basketball is back on SNY as Katie Lou Samuelson and the top-ranked Huskies return to Storrs to host the Tigers in a conference matchup at Gamble. UConn versus Memphis. Coverage begins with pregame today at 4, only on SNY. We better hurry up here and get to the pregame outside. Well, they almost lost a game to Tulane last week, but 102 in a row is phenomenal.
Phenomenal. I mean, what was the number for UCLA when we were kids? 88?
88. Notre Dame broke that, remember?
That's right.
A big shot.
Digger in the game.
Austin Adams, former Cleveland Indian, in to pitch. Call strike to T.J. Rivera.
Did you say John Shoemate? He had the big basket?
Shoemate. Dwight Clay had the game-winning shot, okay. But Shoemate had a huge
like a tip-in or something, right? I mean, that was, you know, there's a million games on TV every day.
Not then.
Not then. So you said to yourself, okay, I'm ready for that game.
Remember TVS? That was the
That's right.
That was the network, the syndicator that did all the college basketball games.
I forgot all about that.
Dick Enberg. TJ up for the second time. He grounded out in the 5th. The other big one was that UCLA Houston game in the
the Big E. The Big E.
The Big E, and then they took care of that in a big way in the finals. Elvin Hayes, of course,
against Lou Alcindor.
Like everybody's supposed to know what the Big E is. Sorry about that, folks.
Everybody over 60 does.
That's right.
It's a diminishing part of our audience.
That's right.
The Big E went on to play with the Bullets, right? Baltimore. Did he go with
Yeah.
The Baltimore Bullets?
Baltimore Bullets. I mean, that was the largest crowd, right, for a college basketball game at the time?
At the Astrodome.
Yep.
Who was the coach, Gary? He was quite a character for Houston.
Guy Lewis.
Yes.
Breaking ball, strike 3 called, and Rivera's called with it. There's the first down in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, Alcindor, didn't he have the bad eye in the first game in the regular season? Didn't he have a bad eye? I thought he had kind of a vision problem or a patch, and he did not have a good game. And boy, was he on revenge mode in that final.
There's Matt Reynolds up for the first time. Matt was a frequent coast-to-coast flyer last year on the city to Vegas pipeline.
That's right.
I think she's looking for a hot dog.
Souvenir there.
See, he's paying attention to the game. They pursuing other things.
The same interest we do.
At times.
I don't know why I'm keeping such a very tidy scorecard.
It's your first one.
Tomorrow will be terrible.
Don't you have a certain standard you try to keep up?
Well, it just is. I notice that yours is very tidy.
Mine looks the same every day, you know.
I'm not even using my big league scorebook. I don't even bring it out for these games. Look at this. This is what I got. Not even trying.
I hate to waste my highlighters here on spring training games.
I'm sorry, you hate to waste your highlighters?
Well, the ink, you know, these are expensive.
Keith, I believe that if you requisition them from SNY, they'll buy you a whole new set of highlighters.
They're brand new.
I think you should do what you usually do. Just mention them on the air, and you'll get some freebies.
Oh, and if not, I believe they're tax deductible.
Oh, geez.
A little side saddle with that headset.
Here's Gavin Cicchini, his second at bat. Had a long double his first time up and scored the only Met run in this game.
I did get a confirmation, Gare.
What's that?
From my friend Steve Barkin from Stratomatic, that Lou Alcindor in that regular season game against Houston did have a vision problem. My recollection was correct. I thought I'd throw it in.
I had no doubt once you said it that you were correct. But it's always good to get back up.
Thanks, Steve.
The scary part is that you have friends listening that intently.
Well, he's got to have his fact-checking crew.
That's right. Steve is the Stratomatic guy, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, that's inside ball 4, so back-to-back walks, and the Mets have 2 men on. Mike Maddox, the Nationals pitching coach, heading out to the mound. Talk to Adams before Luis Guillorme steps in.
Hand on the shoulder?
Yes.
Luis Guillorme will bat for the first time. He's found his way into the Mets' top prospects list because of his glove. Played here in St. Lucie last year, hit .263, but wowed people with his ability on the infield.
It's interesting how defense has come back into vogue.
You know, it's funny how those things work. I think part of it is a recognition that, you know, the game tilted too much the other way toward less athletic, more powerful players. But the other piece is, I think, that when the sabermetric revolution began, it was hard to quantify defense, and so a lot of people who were inclined in that direction ignored defense. Then as it became better able to be quantified, I think it became more valued.
Yeah, and it's getting better every year.
And I think it will continue to get better with all the StatCast information.
Right.
And Major League Baseball is, you know, making a concerted effort to try and take all that raw data and turn it into metrics that really tell defensive stories the way they haven't before. But here's a kid, Guillorme, who just off the charts with his defense, and now let's need to see if his offense can catch up. Just 22 years old. And Adams really struggling, walking 3 in a row to fill the bases.
Guillorme, Keith, wears his socks like yours.
Yes, he does.
That's exactly how you wore them.
Well, he wears the number 77 on his back.
So like 7.
Like he's from the 70s.
No, he had no.
There you go. Look at all the stirrups. I love the stirrups. There's something about putting that sanitary sock on first and then the regular sock on second. You know, the other way's lazy. Do it the right way. Let's go.
Now Ahmed Rosario bats with the bases loaded and 1 out. His second at bat. And he chases the slider, 0-1. Rosario fly to center field his first time up. Because of his status as the Mets' #1 prospect, when Rosario got to camp a couple of weeks ago, they did a full-blown press conference with him. And he told the world that he grew up as a huge Jose Reyes fan, and now he gets to share a clubhouse with Jose. But he was asked, you know, you're known as a whiz in the field, you know, what do you prefer to do, field or hit? He said, I like to hit. So, you know, this idea that he's a defense first player, I think he aspires to be a two-way big time player. This is such a great era for young shortstops in the major leagues, and Rosario hoping to join that group of the Carlos Correas and the Francisco Lindors and the Corey Seagers and the Addison Russells, who have begun to flood into the big leagues. And that's on the inside corner. Got him looking. Not sure if that's where Adams meant to throw it, but it got there for the second out.
Adams throws what is really a cutter slider almost every pitch. So that one he's trying to throw the outside part, but it ended up coming on the inside part to Rosario. See, it's supposed to be down and away, but it ends up inside, and it's not a strike either.
Gary Cederstrom, the home plate umpire, judged it so.
Never have anything against Cederstrom. He's behind the plate on Santana's no-hitter. So always pro Gary.
Cederstrom, one of the real veterans among big league umpires with all the retirements we've had this spring.
Tim Welke, right, retired. John Hirschbeck, Bob Davidson. There's one more.
Jim Joyce.
Oh, how can I forget Jimmy?
Will miss his lungs.
Yes.
Dominic Smith up for the second time. Drew a walk his first time up, and Adams quickly behind him 2-0.
You know, I was wondering, though, the umpires that do retire and get off the field, they still have another avenue. They can go to Chelsea, right, and be one of those umpires that works the games, or no? Or
Is
they're
that
just completely
true?
done. I don't know.
I mean, my understanding was that only active umpires were working in that rotation, but I don't know if they've changed that. What I haven't heard yet is there was a lot of talk about instituting a 2-minute limit on replay times, but I don't think that's actually been announced or implemented.
Yeah, because they don't know if they can do it yet.
Well, but we've said it many times. If you get to that point, then the call stands, right?
Right.
And that's ball 4, and 4 walks have forced in a run. And now it's 7-2. So Dominic Smith walks with the bases loaded, the drive and a run. Dusty Baker heads out to the mound, and that'll be all for Austin Adams. And Dusty will go to his 9th pitcher of the game. (7-2) Washington in the 8th. We'll be right back to Port St. Lucie. Show that's only New York sports tonight. All the spring training, the NBA, the NHL. Seton Hall's up 12 on DePaul with just under 5 minutes to go. Geico Sports Night tonight at 10:30 only on SNY. Derek Eitel is in to pitch for the Nats with the bases loaded at 2 out, and Travis Tyrone takes outside. Eitel maybe not the right guy to bring in with those 40 walks in 68 innings last year.
I mean, he has the strikeouts, but 40 walks. I led the league in walks. That wasn't that bad.
He has kicked around in his minor league career. last year in the San Diego organization. Originally drafted by Arizona, and strike zone tightening up for Gary Cederstrom. It's now 2-0 to Tyrone. Mets might walk their way to a comeback.
Tyrone's swinging. He wants to hit a grand slam.
He is a home run hitter. It's been his minor league career so far, but now he's got a 3-0 advantage. Give him a green light. And he walked him. That's 5 walks in the inning, and now 2 runs have scored. It's now 7-3, and the Mets will get the tying run to the plate. So Adams walked 4, and now Eitel walks his first batter, and here comes Ty Kelly. He's the only player on either team to play the whole game. Started the game at second base, moved to left field, now playing center field. He's 0 for 2 and a walk. And he takes a strike. Down by Solano. Ball and a strike.
Good block there by Jonathan. You know where his brother is, Gary?
Donovan? In the American League somewhere.
Yeah.
Solano brothers, natives of Colombia. And Kelly takes outside, 2-1.
Colombia has a team in the WBC, right? Pretty sure.
Is Dilson Herrera playing for them?
He just hurt his shoulder yesterday. He's got some shoulder stiffness.
Because with Brandon Phillips moving, there's certainly more of an opportunity there for Herrera in Cincinnati.
I think there's 2 players that are fighting for that position, Herrera and someone else for the Reds.
And that's in the dirt, and again Solano blocks it, but now it's 3-1.
You better can that curveball. You can't get it over. Ooh, nice block.
Donovan Solano's with the Yankees.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's a full count to Ty Kelly. Merry-go-round in motion, and Kelly grounds one foul, and we'll do it again. Jose Peraza is the other guy in that second base mix for the Reds. Kid used to be with the Braves.
Yep.
And Kelly draws a walk to force in a 3rd run. How about this? 3 runs on 6 walks. And now it's 7-4. And Dusty may have to get somebody else up in the bullpen.
You know, you get in these games sometimes where the umpire's like, you know what? You're going to make me stand out here all day? Okay. I'm not going to give you anything close.
And you think in a game like this, you would anything close late in the game, you get a ring up.
So now the tying runs are on base with 2 out. And Jorge Carrillo comes up for the 2nd time. Carrillo flied out after coming in for the injured Kevin Plawecki. Plawecki, if you were not with us earlier, involved in a home plate collision, suffered a contusion to his left knee. They've taken him for x-rays just as a precaution. Carrillo spent most of last year in Binghamton at .269 with 4 home runs and a brief stint with AAA Las Vegas. And he takes one at the knees for a strike.
there was a lot of talk about ending mound visits. It was interesting. That mound visit was not needed by Solano. What is he going to tell?
Throw strikes.
Throw strikes.
Ball and strike to Carrillo, is the 9th man up in the inning. T.J. Rivera led off the inning. He's on deck. Derek Eitel, the 9th Washington pitcher of the day. Gio Gonzalez started, and there's been a parade since. 3 runs home for the Mets in the 8th. And Carrillo fouls it off, 1-2. Jorge with an X. It's a different way of spelling Jorge. Native of Tijuana. Played at Arizona State. Smith, Tyrone, and Kelly the base runners. And Carrillo hits one on the ground. Defoe's got it, and a high throw is handled by Skoll. That retires the side. 9 Mets came to bat, no hits, but 6 walks produced 3 runs. It's 7-4 Nats. We're sailing toward the finish of the Mets' first spring training home game of 2017. Trying to get you to the UConn pregame show right on time.
That's our job, you know.
Are those the same shots we used last year?
No, jeez.
I believe they're actually from 2011.
Video for the Nationals, number 63, Drew Ford.
There's the logo that's on the sleeve of all the spring training uniforms.
I happen to like that.
I do too.
Yeah, it's nice.
Kyle Regnault over from minor league camp, University of Rhode Island product, will come on to pitch the top of the 9th.
He's from Providence, Rhode Island. I don't see many kids from there. LaSalle Academy.
Drew Ward leading off in the top of the 9th. Flight out to left and is only at bat. So Regnault becomes the 7th Mets pitcher of the day. So by my calculations, that's 16 pitchers that we've seen this afternoon, and the Nats will have one more in the bottom of the 9th.
It's like September baseball. Same thing.
Not that different. One and 2 to Ward. Regnault's curveball misses, 2-2. Regnault was at 3 different levels for the Mets last year. Spent the majority of his season in Double-A at Binghamton. Started out his pro career in independent ball in the Can-Am League. Where did he play in the Can-Am League, Ronnie?
I bet you Worcester, Mass.
Worcester. He played in Worcester.
Their home field is Holy Cross College.
Played for the Worcester Tornadoes in 2012.
Tornadoes. I think there was a tornado
in
1948. They had a tornado in Worcester.
And there's a walk. We've seen a few of those lately, haven't we? So Ward is on to start the top of the 9th. This will be Roddy Reed up for the first time in the DH spot.
It's like rockin' Roddy Piper.
Recently deceased.
That's right.
Yeah.
Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
Keith, who's the wrestler who watch this play, the double play?
The turn by Cicchini. Nicely done. 5-4-3. And the Mets turn their second double play in the last 2 innings.
Keith, wasn't there a wrestler that played in the St. Louis Cardinals farm system?
Yes. Oh,
Randy Savage?
Yes. His name was Mike Poffo.
Really?
That was in the minor leagues with him.
His name was what?
Mike Poffo, I'm pretty sure.
Spell it.
Don't ask me.
Okay.
Poffo to Savage?
Probably a better wrestling name, would you say?
I agree.
This is Corbin Joseph hitting for the first time.
I'm sorry. It would have been, it would have been Randy Poffo. We wouldn't have changed his first name.
Check swing foul, and it's 1-1.
A few wrestlers passed away this winter, right? George the Animal Steele.
Just the other day, yeah.
Jimmy Snuka. You know him? No?
No.
Superfly, I think that's what they call him.
Like Curtis Mayfield?
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Fred is
great album cover, right?
Going to make your fortune by and by.
What?
2-1 the count to Joseph. And that's off the plate. 3-1. Keeping an eye on my Pirates. They're up 6 with 1:14 to go. Must win game.
You have to win the next 2, you said, today and
today and Tuesday against Georgetown.
And that's to get into the tournament?
One would think.
Okay.
According to the expert bracketologist. And that's ball 4. So 2 walks in this inning. And Joseph is on with 2 out. Always taking notes. Manager's always watching. Games, drills, clubhouse. It's always watching. Here's Brandon Snyder batting for the first time. Snyder, who we saw with the Braves as a bench player last year, he had a home run against the Mets, didn't he? In a game in Atlanta. Carrillo knocks it down. Ball and a strike.
It's funny, I saw Terry today. I was talking to him for a while, but you know, I find myself, even at 56 years old, when I see a manager, I have to call him Skip. I can't call him Terry. I just know managers should call him Skip, even though he's not my skipper.
So in other sports where the leader of the team is known as the coach, people call him Coach.
That's right.
In baseball, it's a manager, but they don't call him manager.
No.
They call him Skip.
The skip or the skipper. Yeah. There's a Seinfeld episode there somewhere.
It's an interesting etymology, right? Why is it that in baseball,
I don't know.
the leader of the team isn't a coach, yet for a college team, it is a coach? Driven to right center field, and that's going to go up the gap and all the way back to the wall. Joseph digging for third. He'll be waved in and score easily. Snyder pulls into second with an RBI double to make it 8-4 Washington. So that walk proving costly to Kyle Regnall.
Washington gets one of those runs back. They've hit some bullets here this afternoon.
That's their 10th hit in today's game.
So now Wilmer Defoe will bat for the third time. He'll turn around about right-handed. He has walked and grounded out. So with Flores starting for the Mets and Defoe finishing for the Nats, a glorious 2 Wilmer day.
That's right. Well, Defoe, I think a couple of years ago, you really thought he was going to have a chance to stick with the club at some point, but the signing of Murphy pushed him back on the depth chart, and then Trey Turner, the emergence of Trey and playing shortstop this year. Defoe, if he makes the team, would be as that extra infielder because they lost the shortstop from last year.
You know, one of the questions about this Nationals team is going to be their bench, because it's one of the reasons why they signed Adam Lynn not long ago, because you look at what they have as far as a bench contingent, it's maybe not as strong as they'd like. And Defoe is certainly in that mix.
Yeah, they've always had, if he didn't start like he did last year, they always had Daniel Espinosa on the bench, had some pop and a good defensive player.
Espinosa now where? Anaheim, right?
Anaheim.
Where I think he'll be the starting shortstop.
Second baseman behind Simmons will be the shortstop.
Okay, right. It's like a National League East transplanted infield.
Yes.
Two and two to Defoe. And a chance for Rosario. Makes the play to end the inning. Nats tack on a run, and the Mets come up in the bottom of the ninth, trailing 8-4. Field is a McDonald's Family Sunday. Enjoy pregame activities including inflatables, face painters, and balloon artists on Mets Plaza before the game, plus all kids 12 and under, not including T.J. Rivera, who has a base hit to lead off in the last of the ninth. So T.J. has his first hit in 3 at-bats. Got that against Michael Broadway.
Rivera had a very nice year last year for the Mets. Gave him some punch when he got called up. There he is. Likes to swing the bat.
So back to those McDonald Family Sundays.
Yeah,
I want to
please.
know that all kids 12 and under can run the bases after the game in the Mr. Met Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. And for tickets, of course, you'll visit Mets.com/Family Sundays. Here's Matt Reynolds batting for the second time. Drew a walk in the Mets' 6-walk, 3-run 8th inning. And Broadway misses high. Michael Broadway released by the Giants last year after pitching in parts of 2 seasons for them, and signed during the winter by the Nationals. And Reynolds takes one wide, 2-0. Michael Broadway, the 10th pitcher that the Nats have used this afternoon.
The Mets player that came up one year, was it Lance Broadway?
Lance Broadway, yes. Lance Broadway, one of the players the Mets got in the Robbie Alomar trade with the White Sox.
I don't know.
Gotta look that up.
I thought he was.
Maybe I got the wrong.
Yeah, I think he was in the first few years that we did these games.
Foul ball. Stoll chasing it. So he did come from the White Sox, but it wasn't Robbie Alomar. It's for Ramon Castro.
Oh.
That's how Lance Broadway became a Met. Which is a little embarrassing because no one's ever really confused Robbie Alomar and Ramon Castro. Rivera at first and nobody out. Reynolds is hit. So it has been a painful afternoon for the Mets. Reynolds, though, gets aboard, and the Mets have 2 men on with nobody out.
Well, that ball's been known to bite.
That'd be a good welt, right, for the next week or so for Reynolds.
So now Gavin Cecchini up for the 3rd time. Cecchini has had a good day, a double, a walk. He scored 2 runs, made a couple of nice plays in the field. Mets need one more base runner to get the tying run to the plate, and Brandon Nimmo has come out on deck to pinch hit. Cecchini takes high for ball 1. Gavin was in Fort Myers yesterday when the Mets played the Red Sox and knew a lot of players on the Red Sox team because his brother Garen used to be in the Red Sox organization. The end of this game is like a slow drip.
Saying that Dusty is seriously aging here on the sideline.
I just want to tell you that we are missing the UConn women's pregame show right now.
Well,
see, if we'd instituted the 2-hour rule, we wouldn't have had that problem.
You're the skipper of this booth. Make the call, Gary.
Afraid I don't have that kind of juice. However, the real skipper of our ship is in town, so maybe we can consult.
You think Kurt has that kind of pull?
Yeah, he does.
If anybody does. '29-year-old Michael Broadway, and Cicchini fouls it off. 2-2. Nationals 8 runs and 10 hits. The Mets 4 runs and 7 hits. The Mets have already drawn 8 walks and been hit by a pitch in this game. Two coming and bounced foul. So I don't think I've ever seen a uniform quite like the one the Mets are wearing in this game, with the orange letters and numerals on the front and the white on the back. I mean, that's unusual.
I mean,
right?
I noticed it right away because one, I was having trouble reading the numbers and the names.
I'm trying to think of any team that had a separate color scheme for front and back. And that's low. 3-2.
Well, I'll tell you what, that little Chardonnay at sunset's going to taste awful good tonight.
Hope you get there by sunset.
Good luck.
3-2 to Cicchini, and the breaking ball misses. Ball 4. How about that? Another 3-2 breaking ball. The Mets draw their 9th walk of the day, and they'll get the tying run to the plate again, as they did in the 8th.
Boy, oh boy.
Mike Maddox will make another trip to the mound. There's nobody throwing as yet in the Nats bullpen, but that's about to change. They may get pitcher number 11 ready.
I mean, how many times though have you seen 3-2 breaking balls for walks? I mean, you got a big lead. Challenge somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Precisely. Kerry, read the billboards.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com to see how much you could save. Buy Ford for great deals on Ford cars, trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. Visit buyfordnow.com. By the Better Network, Verizon. Better matters. And by Jeep, and the unique brand of freedom you'll only find in the full line of Jeep vehicles. Visit jeep.com to learn more. Well, Mike Broadway scratching his head, trying to figure out how to get an out here in the bottom of the 9th. Mets have the bases loaded and nobody out. Rivera at third, he singled. Reynolds at second, he was hit by a pitch. Cicchini at first, he walked, and now Brandon Nimmo up for the first time in this game. The always smiling Nimmo, trying to make every Met fan smile.
Did a good job for the Mets last year, up and down, off the bench. Young kid thrown into that role. It's not easy. He did a terrific job.
Gave some energy to the team,
yes,
didn't
he did.
73 big league at bats, hit 274 after hitting 352 down in Vegas. Lost out to T.J. Rivera for the batting title by a single point. Mets won batting titles at Vegas, at Binghamton, and at St. Lucie last year. Pulled down to first, scooped up by Skoll. The throw coming home, not in time. Wow. Boy, Rivera, that would have been embarrassing to be thrown out at the plate for the last out of the game, but he made it safely to make it 8-5, and now there's one out in the inning.
How can he not go for a double play, Mr. Skoll? Not a pinch between your cheek and gum either. You got to turn 2 there. I don't know what he's thinking. That's a double play. That is the wrong play.
So,
wow.
So you're saying you'd go second to first?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ball hit hard. That's a double play. That's a 3-6-3.
Rivera just got around the tag by Solano. So now it's 8-5. Tying run remains at bat for Ahmed Rosario, who's up for the 3rd time. Rosario was flied out and struck out. Ball 1 to Ahmed.
Keith, you're judging freshmen with your PhD. Not fair.
Well, I know, but that's just baseball 101, isn't it, Ron?
Yeah. Anytime you can get 2, always a good idea.
He'll be happy to know Seton Hall held on to win by 3.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
A little tight. Pirates.
Line to right, falling fast, base hit. Reynolds is in. Cicchini will stop at third. Ahmed Rosario with an opposite field hit. It's now 8-6, and the tying runs are on base.
Wow. My high fastball.
Nationals are trying to give this game to the Mets, trying their best.
Mets were down 7-0 in this game. It's now 8-6.
Up in the strike zone.
Well, Dominic Smith with 1 swing to put a big-time capper on this afternoon. Dom's been up twice, walked both times. Last time with the bases loaded in the 8th. Cicchini at third. Rosario the tying run at first with 1 out. And Broadway keeps it away. Ball 1.
I'd like to be in a fly right next to Dusty Baker and see what he's thinking and talking about with his bench coach Chris Spire.
I can tell you exactly what he's saying, but just not on the air right now.
There's Chris Spire on the left.
Ball 2.
Boy.
And Broadway's already thrown 34 pitches in this inning. And Braulio Lara is up in the bullpen for the Nats. His services might be required. 2-0 to Dominic Smith. There goes Rosario. It's pulled down to first. Nice pickup by Skoll. He gets the second out. Well, if Rosario was not running on that play, that could have been a game-ending double play because it was hit so hard. But instead, it's just the second out. And the Mets up tying runs in scoring position. And Travis Tyrone coming up.
And fortunate that, you know, you guard the line here. You got the tying run, go-ahead run at the plate. Tying run on base. Got away with 1.
So a base hit here could tie the game with Tyrone coming up. Travis Tyrone walked with the bases loaded in his only plate appearance in the 8th. Tyrone 19 home runs in Vegas last year, 25 the year before. He's a guy who hits home runs, has a high on base percentage, but strikes out a ton. And as we've seen today, a little challenge in the field as well.
The player that baseball is starting to shun a little bit.
And slider in for a strike, 1-1.
And I don't mean Tyrone, I mean his type of player.
Well, we were talking about it earlier, the one-dimensional player. But he does have the advantage of the fact that he does have a good eye and draws walks, and that enhances his value. Cicchini at third, Rosario at second, and Tyrone fouls it away, and the Mets are down to their last strike. It's not often you see a pitcher throw nearly 40 pitches in a spring training inning. And there's strike 3 called, and that'll do it. Tyrone caught looking. Broadway finally gets the final out. And after trailing 7-0, the Mets battle back. But 4 Nationals home runs, too much to overcome, and Washington wins 8-6.
Really, the